secrets and forbidden knowledge. Welcome to the Book of Enoch versus Genesis, a mythological showdown. In this episode, we dive deep into two ancient texts that tell very different stories about creation, angels, and humanity's origin. While Genesis gives us the familiar tale of Adam and Eve, Enoch opens the door to a hidden world of watchers, Nephilim, and divine rebellion. Which story holds the true mythological power? Join us as we compare these two fascinating narratives and uncover what was lost, and why it matters. Let the showdown begin. Genesis. God creates the world in 6 days, resting on the seventh, a structured, orderly, divine narrative. The opening chapter of the book of Genesis is among the most iconic passages in all of sacred literature. It introduces the biblical God, Elohim, not with abstract theology but with action, divine creation. Genesis 1:1-2:3 outlines how God created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and rested on the seventh. This account, rich in structure, order, and symbolism, sets the tone for the rest of the Bible. It reveals profound insights into the nature of God, the cosmos, humanity, and the purpose of life. This essay unpacks the Genesis creation narrative, exploring its literary structure, theological implications, and enduring relevance. It is a story not merely of origins, but of divine intention and sacred rhythm. The context and literary nature of Genesis. Genesis, meaning beginning, opens the Torah or Pentateuch, traditionally attributed to Moses. While its historical authorship is debated, its religious authority is revered across Judaism, Christianity, and even Islam. The creation account in Genesis 1:1-2:3 differs from Genesis 2 verse 4 onwards, which presents a second creation narrative. The first is a majestic, cosmic sequence. The second is more anthropocentric and intimate. Genesis 1 is written in a highly structured, poetic prose. It uses repetition, parallelism, and numerical patterns, emphasizing divine order. The refrain "and God said, and it was so, and God saw that it was good" punctuates the text, reinforcing rhythm and authority. 2. Day-by-day creation, a divine workweek. The Genesis creation account unfolds over 6 days, with God resting on the seventh. Each day follows a deliberate pattern. Day 1, light and darkness, Genesis 1 verses 1-5. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Creation begins not with struggle as in many ancient myths, but with divine speech. God creates light and separates it from darkness, naming them day and night. This act introduces time itself. Light symbolizes order, understanding, and life. Day 2, sky and waters, Genesis 1 verses 6-8. Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. God creates a firmament, rakia, a vast expanse, to divide the waters above, sky, from the waters below, seas. This reflects an ancient cosmology of a domed sky, but the theological message is deeper. God imposes structure upon primordial chaos. Day 3, land, seas, and vegetation, Genesis 1 verses 9-13. Let the dry ground appear. Let the land produce vegetation. God gathers the waters below to reveal dry land, which he names earth. Then he commands the earth to sprout plants and trees. This is the first mention of life. God is not only a craftsman but also a gardener, instilling fertility and sustainability. Day 4, sun, moon, and stars, Genesis 1 verses 14-19. Let there be lights in the sky to separate the day from the night. Here God populates the sky with luminaries to govern time, days, years, and seasons. Importantly, the text avoids naming the sun and moon, objects often deified in ancient Near Eastern cultures, reinforcing monotheism. They are mere tools of the Creator. Day 5, sea creatures and birds, Genesis 1 verses 20-23. Let the waters teem with living creatures. Let birds fly above the earth. God creates life in the sea and sky, blessing them to multiply. This marks the introduction of motion and freedom. Creation becomes dynamic. Life now possesses agency and the capacity for reproduction. Day 6, land animals and humanity, Genesis 1 verses 24 to 31. Let us make man in our image after our likeness. God creates land animals, then humans, male and female, in his own image, imago Dei. Humanity is given dominion over creation, tasked with stewardship. This climactic moment defines human dignity, purpose, and moral responsibility. Unlike animals, humans bear the divine imprint. Day 7, Rest and Sanctification, Genesis 2 verses 1 to 3. On the seventh day, God rested from all his work. God ceases his work and blesses the seventh day, making it holy. This concept of divine rest, Shabbat, introduces sacred time. It is not about fatigue but completion. The Sabbath becomes a cornerstone of Jewish and Christian life, a rhythm of work and rest. 3. Structure and symmetry in Genesis 1. The creation narrative is highly symmetrical, revealing a literary architecture that reflects the order God imposes on chaos. Days 1 to 3, Forming, creation of realms. Day 1, Light time. Day 2, Sky/seed space. Day 3, Land/plants habitat. Days 4 to 6, Filling, inhabiting the realms. Day 4, Sun, Moon, stars, light bearers. Day 1. Day 5, Birds/fish, Sky/sea dwellers. Day 2. Day 6, Land animals/humans inhabit land. Day 3. The pattern is purposeful. God first forms environments, then fills them. This not only communicates divine intelligence but reinforces the idea of an ordered universe. 4. Theological themes in Genesis 1. 1. God as supreme creator. God is transcendent, eternal, and sovereign. He creates effortlessly by his word, without assistance or opposition. There are no rival gods, monsters, or battles. This starkly contrasts with myths like the Babylonian Enuma Elish, where creation is born from divine conflict. Genesis asserts monotheism and divine sovereignty. The cosmos is not accidental or chaotic. It is intentional and ordered by a wise creator. 2. The word of God as creative power. And God said, is repeated 10 times. Divine speech is the mechanism of creation. This foreshadows the Christian doctrine of the Logos, John 1 verse 1, in the beginning was the Word. God's Word brings existence, shapes reality, and sets moral order. 3. Creation is good. After each act, God saw that it was good. The world is not evil or flawed from the outset. It is a good creation. This affirms the value of material existence and lays the foundation for biblical ethics. What God creates is worthy of care. 4. Humanity in the image of God. Being made in God's image, imago Dei, grants humans unique value. They are rational, moral, relational, and creative beings. They are stewards, not tyrants, over creation. Male and female alike reflect God's nature, affirming equality and purpose. 5. The sanctity of the Sabbath. The seventh day introduces the concept of sacred time. Unlike other creation days, the Sabbath has no evening and morning, suggesting it is ongoing. It becomes a symbol of divine rest, covenant, and ultimate peace. In Judaism, the Sabbath is a weekly reenactment of divine rest. V. Genesis versus ancient Near Eastern creation myths. Genesis does not exist in a vacuum. It dialogues with, and critiques, neighboring cosmologies. Enuma Elish, Babylonian Marduk, slays Tiamat, chaos, and creates the world from her body. Humans are made from the blood of a rebellious god to serve the gods. Egyptian myths. The sun god Ra emerges from primordial waters and brings order through naming. Genesis departs radically. There is no violence, no polytheism, no divine conflict. God is alone, sovereign, and good. Humans are not slaves, but stewards and partners in creation. 6. Modern interpretations and debates. The Genesis creation account has sparked centuries of interpretation: literal, allegorical, theological, and scientific. Literal view. Some believe in a 6-24-hour day creation around 6,000 to 10,000 years ago. This is often associated with young Earth creationism. Day-age view. Each day symbolizes a long epoch, aligning with scientific timelines. Framework hypothesis. Genesis is a literary theological framework, not a chronological report. Theistic evolution. God created through evolutionary processes harmonizing faith and science. Genesis 1 is not a science textbook. Its purpose is not to explain how the world works materially, but who made it, why it exists, and how it is structured. It answers metaphysical questions science cannot. 7. The message for today. Genesis 1:2:3 continues to inspire and guide billions. Its themes remain relevant. In a world of chaos and confusion, it proclaims that order is divine. In an age of exploitation, it calls humanity to stewardship. In a time of meaninglessness, it reminds us of sacred purpose. In a culture of workaholism, it invites us to rest and trust. Whether read as history, poetry, or theology, Genesis invites all people into a cosmic story where life has meaning, time has rhythm, and creation is a sacred gift. Genesis 1:1, 2-3 is not just an origin story. It is a declaration of divine purpose, cosmic order, and human dignity. Through its structured narrative and theological depth, it sets the foundation for all of Scripture. God is not a distant architect but an intentional creator, who brings light from darkness and harmony from chaos. Creation in all its beauty and complexity reflects His glory. In 6 days, God forms and fills the universe. On the seventh, He rests, not from exhaustion but in satisfaction. The pattern invites us to live in rhythm with God, to create, to care, and to rest in the sacred order of His design. Enoch. The Book of Enoch and the cosmic hierarchy of angels, watchers, and heavenly secrets. The Book of Enoch, also known as 1 Enoch, stands apart from other ancient Jewish texts, particularly those found in the Hebrew Bible, by its distinct lack of focus on the creation narrative. Instead, it offers a sweeping and often cryptic vision of cosmic order, angelic beings, watchers, and heavenly mysteries that reside beyond the material realm. While Genesis introduces creation and humanity's early fall, Enoch concerns itself with what lies beyond earth. The inner workings of the heavens, the roles of angels, the rebellion of watchers, and the ultimate fate of souls and spirits. This unique perspective helps us understand how ancient Jewish thinkers envisioned the supernatural structure of reality, long before systematic theology developed. Let us explore the Book of Enoch's focus on the cosmic hierarchy, the watchers, and the heavenly secrets it claims to unveil. Overview of the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch is an apocalyptic and pseudepigraphal text traditionally ascribed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. It is not included in the canonical Hebrew Bible or most Christian Bibles, except in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which regards it as scriptural. Scholars date its composition between the 3rd century BCE and the 1st century CE. The book itself is a collection of several writings, generally divided into 5 main sections. The Book of the Watchers, chapters 1-36. The Book of Parables/Similitudes, chapters 37-71. The Astronomical Book, chapters 72-82. The Book of Dream Visions, chapters 83-90. The Epistle of Enoch, chapters 91-108. Rather than narrating how the world began, Enoch's texts delve into how the cosmos is ruled, who inhabits the divine realms, and what spiritual laws govern the universe. 2. Enoch's vision of cosmic hierarchy. In the Book of Enoch, the universe is deeply hierarchical, populated by various classes of divine beings, each with specific duties, jurisdictions, and characteristics. 1. God, the Most High. At the summit is God, often referred to as the Lord of Spirits, or Ancient of Days. He is the unquestionable sovereign of the universe, seated on a glorious throne surrounded by unapproachable light and fire. He governs not just the earth but the entire cosmos and its unseen dimensions. Unlike the anthropomorphic deity in some Old Testament passages, Enoch's God is a transcendent and cosmic force, hidden in layers of radiant majesty, judgment, and purity. His decrees govern angelic orders, celestial mechanics, and moral law. 2. The Holy Ones and the Archangels. Beneath God are archangels, powerful and exalted beings with administrative and moral responsibilities. These include Michael, protector of the righteous and advocate for Israel. Raphael, healer of the earth and overseer of spirits. Gabriel, enforcer of divine justice. Uriel, angel of wisdom and heavenly lights. These beings function as intermediaries between God and creation, enforcing divine will across different levels of heaven and earth. They are not merely messengers but cosmic governors, each one controlling domains of power such as healing, judgment, knowledge, or warfare. 3. The angels and watchers. Below the archangels are regular angels, but Enoch spends particular focus on a specific group called the Watchers, Aramaic, Irim meaning those who watch. These are angelic beings originally assigned to watch over humanity, but whose rebellion triggered cosmic catastrophe. 3. The Watchers, Rebellion and Fall. The Book of the Watchers, chapters 1-36, recounts a dramatic tale of divine beings who descend to earth and break heavenly laws. This narrative is central to the Book of Enoch's cosmic worldview. 1. The Descent. 200 Watchers descend from heaven to Mount Hermon, led by their chief, Semjaza or Semiaza. Their intention is to cohabitate with human women, which results in the birth of hybrid beings. The Nephilim, giants of great strength and wickedness, see Genesis 6 verses 1-4 for a parallel account. Their actions are described as a transgression of cosmic boundaries, crossing the lines between spirit and flesh, heaven and earth. This rebellion corrupts not only humanity but the natural order. 2. Azazel and forbidden knowledge. Among the Watchers, Azazel plays a unique and sinister role. Unlike Semjaza, who is the leader, Azazel is blamed for teaching humans forbidden knowledge, warfare and weapon making, sorcery and incantations, cosmetics and seduction, astrology and the movement of the stars. Azazel's instruction leads to widespread corruption, violence, and idolatry. He symbolizes chaos, rebellion, and impurity, an arch-villain in the cosmic order. 3. Judgment of the Watchers. God commands the archangels to respond. Raphael binds Azazel in the desert, an allusion picked up in Leviticus 16's scapegoat ritual. Gabriel destroys the Nephilim in a heavenly war. Michael intercedes for the righteous. The Watchers are imprisoned in Tartarus, a subterranean realm of punishment until the final judgment. This mythic episode is not merely a moral lesson. It's a cosmic disruption that introduces spiritual warfare, demons, and moral disorder into the world. 4. Heavenly secrets, knowledge, cosmology, and time. Unlike Genesis, which traces history from Adam through the patriarchs, Enoch travels vertically, upward into the heavens. He becomes a seer of hidden truths and is taken on tours of the cosmic architecture. 1. The Astronomical Book. One of the most fascinating sections, the Astronomical Book, details a complex solar-lunar calendar. Enoch is shown how the sun and moon follow distinct but divinely ordained paths. There are portals in the heavens through which celestial bodies rise and set. The year is ideally 364 days, not 365, symbolizing divine order. This is not scientific astronomy but a form of sacred cosmology, intended to show how divine wisdom underlies the structure of time and seasons. Corruption of the calendar, by pagan or worldly rulers, is seen as a form of rebellion against divine law. 2. Geography of heaven and earth. Enoch is shown a multi-layered cosmos, often including Sheol, the underworld where the dead await judgment; the heavenly tablets, a record of all human deeds; the tree of life and crystal palaces of the righteous, places of punishment for sinners, fallen angels, and rebellious spirits. This sacred geography is deeply moral. Each realm reflects the ethical quality of its inhabitants. Righteous souls are rewarded, and evil spirits are bound in eternal torment. 3. The secrets of the universe. Enoch is often referred to as the scribe of righteousness. He is shown the foundations of the earth, the treasuries of the winds, and the chambers of hail and snow. These metaphors suggest that the world is not random but sustained by divine power. Knowledge of the cosmos is a gift from the divine realm, not to be obtained through sorcery or pride, as the Watchers tried to do. The Enoch's transformation and ascension. In the final sections, Enoch is transformed from a human prophet into a heavenly being. He becomes a mediator between God and humanity, and in later Jewish mysticism and early Christian thought, Enoch is sometimes identified with Metatron, a quasi-divine figure who sits at God's side. This ascension reflects a broader theme, that righteous knowledge and obedience can lead to divine elevation, not unlike Elijah's fiery departure or later mystical traditions of heavenly ascent. 6. Legacy and theological impact. The Book of Enoch was highly influential in early Judaism and Christianity, even though it was later excluded from the Jewish and most Christian canons. Its themes resonate in the New Testament. Jude 1 verses 14 to 15 quotes Enoch directly. Themes of fallen angels, final judgment, and cosmic war echo throughout Revelation and Paul's letters. Christian demonology. The Watchers are precursors to the idea of fallen angels and demons. Jewish mysticism. Kabbalah. Enoch's heavenly travels and role as a divine scribe inspire Merkaba mysticism and visions of divine chariots. Islamic tradition. Enoch is often identified with Idris, a prophet lifted to heaven. The book's focus on moral cosmology, angelology, and divine order gives it enduring power, despite its marginal status in most religious traditions. The Book of Enoch is not a tale of beginnings, but of structures, spiritual, moral, and cosmic. It draws a vivid map of a multidimensional universe, populated by angels, rebels, and divine mysteries. Its primary concerns are not how the world was made, but who governs it, what laws structure it, and how spiritual rebellion distorts divine order. Enoch invites its readers not only to look upward into the heavens but also inward, to consider their place in a universe filled with unseen forces and eternal consequences. Whether one reads it as mythology, theology, or mysticism, Enoch offers a powerful glimpse into the ancient imagination of the divine cosmos. A universe where watchers fall, archangels rise, and secrets shape the fate of the world. Thanks for joining us on this mythological deep dive into the Book of Enoch versus Genesis. From the Watchers and cosmic secrets to Eden and the fall of man, these ancient texts offer two powerful, and sometimes conflicting views of our origins. Which version do you find more compelling? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into ancient mysteries, hidden scriptures, and the stories that shaped human belief. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, the truth might be stranger than the myth. See you in the next video. Welcome to our channel. In this video, we uncover the chilling secrets of the fallen angels as revealed in the mysterious Book of Enoch. Who were these divine beings that defied heaven? What forbidden knowledge did they bring to humanity? And why were they cast into darkness for eternity? Hidden for centuries, the Book of Enoch offers shocking insights that challenge everything you thought you knew about angels, demons, and the origins of evil. Stay with us as we dive deep into ancient texts and unveil the untold story of the Watchers and their fall from grace. Let's get started. The identity of the fallen angels. Judgment of the angels and the Nephilim. The concept of divine judgment has been a central theme in Judeo-Christian theology. Among the more mysterious and often controversial aspects of this doctrine is the judgment of angels, specifically the fallen angels, and their connection with the Nephilim, beings mentioned briefly in the early chapters of Genesis. This topic, though enigmatic, touches on deep themes of rebellion, divine order, and the consequences of transgression against God's law, both in the spiritual and earthly realms. This essay explores the biblical and extra-biblical foundations for understanding the judgment of the angels and the Nephilim, drawing from sources such as Genesis, the Book of Enoch, 2 Peter, Jude, and Revelation, as well as historical interpretations from Jewish and Christian traditions. Who are the angels and the Nephilim? 1. The angels in question. In Scripture, angels are spiritual beings created by God, serving as messengers, ministers, and agents of His divine will. While most angels remain loyal to God, some chose to rebel. These rebellious angels are often referred to as fallen angels. The most notable among them is Satan, but many others are believed to have joined him in defiance. 2. The Nephilim. The Nephilim are first introduced in Genesis 6 verses 1 to 4. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. The term sons of God, Hebrew, B'nai Ha-Elohim, has long been interpreted in different ways. The most ancient and widely accepted interpretation, particularly in Jewish tradition, is that these were angels, more specifically fallen angels, who took human women as wives. Their offspring were the Nephilim, often described as giants or mighty men. 2. The rebellion and sin of the angels. 1. The Book of Enoch's account. While the Genesis passage is brief, the Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish apocalyptic text, not part of the biblical canon for most traditions, elaborates extensively on this event. It identifies a group of 200 angels known as the Watchers, led by figures like Semiaza and Azazel, who descended to earth and corrupted humanity. According to 1 Enoch 6-16, these angels took human wives, taught forbidden knowledge, warfare, sorcery, astrology, cosmetics, etc. Produced hybrid offspring, the Nephilim, who became violent and destructive, defiled themselves in the natural order. 2. The consequences of the angels' sin. God judged these angels severely. And the Lord said unto Michael, Go, bind Simjaza and his associates, in the valleys of the earth till the day of their judgment. 1 Enoch 10:11-13. The judgment involved binding these angels in the abyss until the final judgment. Azazel in particular, is cast into a desert and covered with rocks. 3. Biblical affirmations of angelic judgment. Though the Book of Enoch is not canonical in most Christian traditions, except the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, New Testament writers seem to reference its themes and even specific passages. 1. 2 Peter 2:4-5. For if God did not spare the angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment, if he did not spare the ancient world but preserved Noah. This passage directly links the sin of certain angels with the time of Noah, reinforcing the Genesis-Enoch connection. The Greek word translated as hell is Tartarus, a term used in Greek mythology for the deep abyss where rebellious beings are imprisoned. 2. Jude 1:6-7. And the angels who did not stay within their own position of authority, but left their proper dwelling, he has kept in eternal chains under gloomy darkness until the judgment of the great day. Jude explicitly mentions angels abandoning their proper domain, an apparent reference to the Watchers descending to earth. He likens their sin to Sodom and Gomorrah, cities known for sexual immorality and unnatural desire. These passages reveal that a specific group of angels committed a grave sin. They are now bound in chains, awaiting future judgment. Their actions are tied to a rebellion against divine order, especially regarding sexuality and human corruption. 4. The judgment of the Nephilim. 1. The flood as judgment. The Nephilim, as the unnatural offspring of angels and humans, were a major reason for the corruption of the earth. Genesis continues, The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. Genesis 6:5-6. The solution was the flood, which wiped out all except Noah and his family. The destruction of the Nephilim was part of this purging. 2. Were there Nephilim after the flood? Numbers 13:33 records the words of the Israelite spies. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes and we looked the same to them. This reference has led to speculation that some Nephilim survived or reappeared after the flood. Some scholars believe the term was reused for later giants, like the Anakim or Rephaim, while others propose post-flood genetic corruption or metaphorical language. However, it is clear that the original Nephilim, the offspring of the Watchers, were destroyed in the flood as part of divine judgment. V. Final judgment of the angels. 1. Awaiting judgment. The fallen angels, those who sinned before the flood, are not yet fully judged. As Peter and Jude state, they are kept in chains, awaiting the final judgment. 2. Revelation's vision. In the book of Revelation, we see glimpses of this final judgment. Revelation 12 describes a war in heaven between Michael and his angels and the dragon, Satan, and his angels. The dragon is cast down to earth. Revelation 20 verse 10 speaks of the lake of fire as the final destination for the devil and his followers. And the devil who had deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, and will be tormented day and night forever and ever. Although it specifically names Satan, it is assumed that the rebellious angels will share in this fate. Matthew 25 verse 41 confirms this. Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels." 3. The role of humans in angelic judgment. A surprising statement appears in 1 Corinthians 6 verse 3. Do you not know that we will judge angels? Paul reminds the Corinthian believers that in the age to come, redeemed humanity will participate in God's justice, even over angelic beings. This underscores the seriousness of angelic rebellion and the high calling of the redeemed. 6. Theological implications. 1. The cosmic consequences of rebellion. The story of the fallen angels and the Nephilim emphasizes that sin is not just a human issue, it's a cosmic rebellion. Spiritual beings who were created good and powerful chose to rebel, corrupting the earth. Their judgment reflects that no being is above God's law, and that even the highest angels are accountable. 2. Boundaries in creation. The sin of the angels involved crossing divinely established boundaries, angels taking human form, engaging in sexuality and producing unnatural offspring. This aligns with other biblical judgments where transgressing God's created order, e.g. Sodom, Babel, results in divine wrath. 3. Divine justice and mercy. God's judgment on the Nephilim and the angels was immediate and severe, but he also preserved Noah, demonstrating his commitment to justice and mercy. The final judgment still awaits, a sign of God's patience and timing. 4. Spiritual warfare and vigilance. For believers today, the judgment of the angels serves as a warning and a call to vigilance. It reveals that spiritual rebellion has tangible effects on earth, and that spiritual warfare is real. Yet it also points to the certainty that evil will be judged. 7. Contemporary interpretations and controversies. Modern scholars and theologians hold differing views on these accounts. Literal view. Many ancient and some modern interpreters take the Genesis 6 and Enoch narratives literally, believing that angels indeed mated with human women. Sethite view. Others argue that sons of God refers to the righteous line of Seth and the daughters of men, to the ungodly line of Cain. Mythological or allegorical view. Some suggest the stories are symbolic of corruption or mythological in nature, not to be read literally. Despite the debate, early Jewish and Christian writings, like Enoch, Jubilees and the Epistles, strongly support a supernatural understanding of these events. The judgment of the angels and the Nephilim is a rich and sobering topic. It reflects God's intolerance for rebellion and corruption, even among the celestial beings. The sins of the fallen angels disrupted both heaven and earth, necessitating divine intervention through the flood and future judgment. Though mysterious and at times speculative, these stories teach enduring truths. God's justice is impartial, boundaries matter in creation, and divine order will ultimately be restored. As the faithful await the final judgment, these accounts inspire awe, caution, and hope in the sovereign plan of God. The identity of the fallen angels. The concept of fallen angels is one of the most compelling and enigmatic themes in religious literature. These beings, once divine, are portrayed as cast out of heaven due to rebellion, pride, or moral corruption. Their stories are foundational to the theological framework of evil and cosmic struggle in many traditions, especially within Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. This essay explores the identity of the fallen angels by examining their origins, the scriptural and extra-biblical references, the symbolic meanings ascribed to them, and how they have been interpreted over time. Origins of the concept. The term fallen angel, refers to those angels who were expelled from heaven due to disobedience to God. Though the Bible does not use the phrase explicitly, the concept is strongly implied in several texts. The most referenced source is Revelation 12 verses 7 to 9, which describes a war in heaven where Michael and his angels fight against the dragon and his angels, interpreted as Satan and his followers. The passage concludes, "The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth and his angels with him." This foundational image sets the stage for understanding fallen angels as rebellious beings who once held celestial status. However, the most detailed account of the fall of angels is found not in the canonical texts of the Bible, but in extra-biblical literature, especially the Book of Enoch, a Jewish apocalyptic text that expands on Genesis 6 verses 1 to 4. The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. The Book of Enoch elaborates on this passage, naming the fallen angels as watchers, a group of 200 angels who descended to earth, lusted after human women, and fathered the Nephilim, giant, violent beings. Their leader, Semjaza or Semiaza, and his cohort, including Azazel, are condemned for corrupting humanity and teaching forbidden knowledge such as weaponry, sorcery, and cosmetics. Biblical and extra-biblical references. Though fallen angels are not a major focus of canonical scripture, their presence can be inferred in a few key passages. 1. Isaiah 14 verses 12 to 15. This passage refers to a figure called Lucifer, Latin for light bringer, described as having fallen from heaven. "How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn." Though this is primarily a taunt against the king of Babylon, later Christian interpretation associated Lucifer with Satan, identifying him as a high angel who rebelled against God due to pride. 2. Ezekiel 28 verses 12 to 17. This oracle against the king of Tyre includes imagery of a being who was the model of perfection, blameless in his ways until wickedness was found in him. Again, though originally intended as a metaphor for earthly arrogance, theologians have read it as an allusion to Satan's origin. 3. Jude 1 verse 6 and 2 Peter 2 verse 4. Both New Testament epistles refer to angels who sinned and are now kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains. These references align with the narrative in 1 Enoch and demonstrate that early Christians accepted or were at least familiar with the idea of rebellious angels punished for their transgressions. Names and identities of fallen angels. Various traditions and texts assign names and identities to fallen angels. The Book of Enoch is the most detailed in this regard, listing 20 leaders of the fallen watchers. Some notable names include Semjaza, the leader who convinced the others to join in his rebellion. Azazel, accused of teaching humanity warfare and cosmetics, punished by being bound in a desert. Armoros, Kokabeel, Barakiel, other named watchers with specific roles in corrupting humanity. In Christian tradition, the most prominent fallen angel is Lucifer, commonly equated with Satan. According to post-biblical interpretations, Lucifer was a high-ranking archangel who became prideful and sought to ascend above God, based largely on Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28. Consequently, he and a third of the angels were cast out of heaven, Revelation 12 verse 4. Other sources, like the Apocalypse of Abraham and the Testament of Solomon, add to the list of fallen angels, including beings who tempt humans and rule over specific sins or territories. Interpretive perspectives. The fallen angels have been interpreted differently across theological and philosophical traditions. Broadly, there are three main approaches: literal, symbolic, and mythological. Literal interpretation. In this view, fallen angels are real, spiritual beings who were created by God but fell due to their own free will. This interpretation is prevalent in conservative Christian theology, especially in Catholic, Orthodox, and evangelical traditions. The fall of the angels is seen as the primordial rebellion, preceding even the fall of Adam and Eve. This view maintains that Satan, once a glorious archangel, led a rebellion against God out of pride and ambition. The other fallen angels, now demons, serve him in his ongoing war against God's kingdom and influence human affairs through temptation and possession. symbolic interpretation. Many scholars, especially modern theologians and biblical critics, view the stories of fallen angels symbolically. According to this perspective, the narrative reflects human struggles with pride, power, and moral failure. The fallen angels are personifications of human vices or warnings against overreaching ambition. Isaiah and Ezekiel, for instance, are understood to use the imagery of fallen angels metaphorically to condemn the hubris of earthly rulers. Lucifer, in this view, is not a literal being but a symbol of prideful rebellion. Mythological and cultural analysis. Some scholars examine the concept of fallen angels in the broader context of ancient Near Eastern mythology. Similar stories of divine beings who descend to earth and become corrupt can be found in Mesopotamian, Canaanite, and Greek mythology. For example, the story of the Titan Prometheus, who defies the gods and brings fire, knowledge, to humanity, parallels Azazel's role in Enoch. This comparative approach suggests that the fallen angels may represent an amalgamation of various mythic themes adapted by the Israelites during periods of exile and cultural exchange. Theological implications. The doctrine of fallen angels plays a crucial role in understanding the problem of evil in Christian theology. Their fall precedes the fall of man and thus provides a cosmic dimension to the origin of sin. According to Augustine and later theologians like Thomas Aquinas, angels were created with free will. Some chose to love God, while others chose pride and self-exaltation. The existence of these beings provides an explanation for the presence of evil spirits and demonic activity in the world. Moreover, their punishment serves as a warning to humanity about the consequences of rebellion. Islamic perspective. In Islam, the concept of fallen angels is treated differently. The Quran does not support the idea that angels can sin, as they are described as perfectly obedient to God, Quran 66:6. Instead, the figure most analogous to Satan is Iblis, who is a jinn, not an angel, Quran 18:50. Iblis refuses to bow to Adam out of pride and is cast out of God's grace. Some Islamic traditions mention Harut and Marut, two angels sent to test humanity in Babylon. They taught people sorcery but warned them against using it. While some see this as an example of angels falling, Orthodox Islamic theology maintains that true angels do not disobey God. Fallen angels in literature and culture. The motif of the fallen angel has permeated literature and art for centuries. John Milton's Paradise Lost offers the most influential literary depiction, portraying Lucifer, Satan, as a tragic anti-hero who declares, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven." Milton's Satan is proud, articulate, and sympathetic in many ways, a reflection of Enlightenment concerns with individualism and rebellion against tyranny. Romantic poets such as Blake and Byron also reimagined the fallen angel as a figure of defiance and creativity, often aligned with the artist's struggle against societal norms. In modern pop culture, fallen angels appear in movies, books, and television shows as complex, brooding figures who struggle with redemption, love, and identity. This evolution reflects a shift from viewing them as purely evil to seeing them as tragic, misunderstood characters. The identity of the fallen angels is a rich and multifaceted subject that blends theology, mythology, literature, and psychology. Whether seen as literal beings, symbols of rebellion, or cultural archetypes, fallen angels continue to captivate human imagination. Their stories raise essential questions about the nature of free will, the origins of evil, and the struggle between obedience and autonomy. In religious contexts, they serve as cautionary tales about pride and disobedience. In literary and cultural representations, they reflect the complexity of the human condition, the desire to ascend, the pain of failure, and the possibility of redemption. Ultimately, the fallen angels stand as enduring figures in the spiritual and moral landscape of humanity, simultaneously feared and empathized with, despised and admired. Their fall from grace reminds us not only of divine judgment but also of the frailty and grandeur of the will. Thanks for watching. The secrets of the fallen angels from the Book of Enoch continue to fascinate and mystify, shedding light on ancient truths hidden for millennia. If this journey into forbidden knowledge and divine rebellion intrigued you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more explorations into ancient texts. mythology, and biblical mysteries. Share your thoughts below. What do you believe about the Watchers and their legacy on humanity? Join us next time as we uncover more lost wisdom from the past. Until then, stay curious, stay questioning, and remember, some truths are hidden for a reason. See you soon. Welcome to a journey beyond the stars, into the ancient and mysterious realms of the seven heavens, as revealed in the Book of Enoch. Far beyond our earthly skies lies a cosmic ladder of hidden dimensions, each ruled by powerful angels and divine forces. In this video we'll explore the secrets, beings, and roles of each heaven, from the realm of the Watchers to the throne of the Most High. Why were these truths hidden? What did Enoch see that changed everything? Stay with us as we uncover the secrets of the seven heavens, a divine map few dare to explore. The abyss of darkness, a realm of rebellious angels and chaos. Ancient religious texts often speak of not just celestial light but also of terrifying darkness. This darkness is not metaphorical, it is described as a real, tangible place. In traditions rooted in Jewish apocalyptic literature, especially the Book of Enoch, we find references to a dark, chaotic realm hidden deep beneath creation. This realm is not hell as popularly imagined, but something older, more primal. A cosmic prison where rebellious angels, also called Watchers, are bound. Suspended in stasis, enveloped in gloom, and isolated from divine grace, this place represents the outcome of defying the divine order. To explore this realm is to descend into the abyss, a space between judgment and annihilation, chaos and containment. This essay will unpack its origin, its connection to fallen angels, its mythic architecture, and its symbolic significance across religious and mythological traditions. 1. The Watchers and their rebellion. The Book of Enoch, particularly the section known as the Book of the Watchers, 1 Enoch 1-36, introduces the Watchers, angels sent by God to watch over humanity. But instead of serving as guardians, they fell into temptation. These celestial beings, led by Semjaza and Azazel, lusted after human women, descended to earth, and fathered a race of hybrid giants known as the Nephilim. Their transgression wasn't merely moral, it disrupted the fabric of creation. They taught forbidden knowledge, weaponry, sorcery, astrology, and vanity. The harmony between heaven and earth fractured. In response, God ordered their punishment. The loyal archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel, acted as enforcers of divine justice. But instead of immediate destruction, the Watchers were cast into a realm more dreadful, a dark, timeless prison hidden from both heaven and earth. 2. The Abyss, description of the dark realm. In Enoch 10:4-12, we find one of the most vivid descriptions of this prison. Bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him into the darkness, and make an opening in the desert, which is in Dudiel, and cast him therein, and place upon him rough and jagged rocks and cover him with darkness. This is the first glimpse of Dudiel, a symbolic or real location believed to be a desolate, barren abyss, where rebellious spirits are chained in eternal twilight. It is not hell in the Greco-Roman sense, nor Sheol, the Hebrew underworld, but rather a celestial detention zone. The features of this realm include absolute darkness. Light does not enter. The angels are not only isolated physically but metaphysically. Suspension in time. They are held until the day of judgment. Time is not linear here, it's a loop of waiting and regret. Chaotic geography, sharp rocks, barren plains, desert winds, all contribute to a realm of torment without flame. Silence and separation, they are cut off from divine communication. Unlike humans, they cannot repent. The Book of Jubilees, another ancient Jewish text, echoes this punishment, affirming that certain angels are imprisoned beneath the earth, awaiting future judgment. 3. Theological symbolism. Chaos versus divine order. In biblical and mythological thought, darkness is often symbolic of chaos, uncreation, and exile. The realm of the imprisoned angels thus represents a reversion to pre-creation disorder, a space where cosmic rebellion is contained so that the ordered world may persist. In Genesis 1:2 we read, "The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep." This deep is the Hebrew Tehom, a primeval abyss, the same idea echoed in later texts. The prison of the angels may be viewed as a return to this primordial chaos, locked away so it cannot consume creation again. By imprisoning rebellious angels here, God does not destroy them immediately, but contains their influence, ensuring the cosmic hierarchy is maintained. 4. Comparisons across traditions. The theme of a dark underworld or prison of divine rebels is not unique to Enochic literature. Many ancient cultures and later theological systems reflect this idea. Christian tradition, Tartarus. In 2 Peter 2 verse 4 we read, "For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell, Tartarus, and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment." Here the Greek term Tartarus is used, a term from Greek mythology referring to the lowest region of the underworld, even deeper than Hades. The fusion of Enoch's dark prison with Tartarus reveals how Judeo-Christian theology incorporated Greco-Roman concepts to communicate spiritual truths. B. Greek mythology. In Hesiod's Theogony, the Titans who warred against the Olympian gods were imprisoned in Tartarus, described as being as far below the earth as the sky is above it. Like the Watchers, these beings represent cosmic rebellion, beings of immense power who sought to challenge the established divine order and were buried in darkness as a result. C. Mesopotamian influence. In Sumerian mythology, the concept of Kor, the netherworld, includes regions of darkness and imprisonment. Some scholars suggest that the Enochian abyss may have been influenced by such older Near Eastern ideas, fused with Jewish theology to create a new vision of divine justice. 5. Psychological and archetypal interpretations. Beyond its theological role, the abyss where the angels are imprisoned can also be interpreted symbolically or psychologically. In Jungian psychology, darkness often represents the unconscious mind, the hidden, repressed parts of the self. The rebellious angels, then, are archetypes of uncontrolled passion, pride, and hubris. 6. Awaiting judgment, the realm's temporal function. The imprisoned angels are not destroyed but held until the final judgment. This introduces a temporal dimension to the dark realm. It is not eternal damnation, as in some Christian interpretations of hell, but temporary containment. This suggests several ideas. Justice is deliberate. God's judgment is not impulsive. It unfolds with cosmic patience. Hope for vindication. While the angel's fate may be sealed, this structure supports apocalyptic visions in which all hidden things, good and evil, are brought to light. A warning, for humanity, this realm becomes a symbolic deterrent, showing that no power, however celestial, escapes consequences. 7. Literary impact and later influence. The image of a dark, chaotic prison for fallen beings has left a profound mark on literature, art, and theology. Dante's Inferno echoes Enochian imagery in its deeper circles of hell, icy, dark, and silent. Milton's Paradise Lost describes Satan and his angels in a burning lake, then later in a fortress in hell's vast abysses. Modern horror and fantasy genres frequently employ the trope of an ancient prison beneath the earth, where malevolent beings are bound until some ritual or hubris sets them free. Thus, Enoch's vision seeded a rich symbolic tradition, blending fear, awe, and cosmic justice. 8. Cosmic geography. Where is this realm? Some ancient texts, including Enoch, attempt to map this realm. It is not merely metaphorical but imagined as geographically real, under deserts, mountains, or beneath the great waters. In Enoch 18:10-16, Enoch himself is shown, a place of terrible things. And I saw a deep abyss, with columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw columns of fire fall, which were beyond measure alike, towards the height and towards the depth. This place is described as outside the ordered heavens, yet not part of Sheol or Gehenna. It is a unique zone, a celestial oubliette. While we cannot locate it physically in the ancient worldview, such descriptions reaffirmed that spiritual geography mirrored moral order. Evil was not just abstract, it had a place, a direction, a border. A realm of warning and wonder. The dark, chaotic realm where rebellious angels are imprisoned is one of the most vivid and enduring symbols in religious thought. Foundationally rooted in the Book of Enoch, and echoed in later biblical, apocryphal, and mythological texts. It tells of a moral cosmos where even the mightiest beings face judgment. This realm is more than just a prison, it is a theological and symbolic expression of divine justice. It reflects a universe where light and order must triumph, but not without the shadows being seen, named, and restrained. In our age, this abyss may be read metaphorically, representing the consequences of unbridled power, the chaos beneath civilization, or the deep, dark spaces within the soul. But for the ancients, it was both real and terrifying, a realm where cosmic rebellion meets its divine reckoning, held in darkness, silence, and chains, until the end of all things. Secrets of the heavenly hosts, angels and the spiritual governance of weather patterns. One particularly fascinating idea is the belief that certain angels are assigned to control weather patterns, ruling over wind, rain, thunder, lightning, and even the movement of celestial bodies. This concept suggests that behind the natural world lies a complex, spiritual hierarchy, a governance system in which invisible beings influence the visible world. In this exploration, we will focus on this hidden order as revealed in the Book of Enoch and other intertestamental Jewish writings, supported by cross-references from biblical texts and mystical traditions. We'll examine how angels are said to manage the elements, what this implies about divine sovereignty, and how such beliefs influenced early cosmology and theology. 1. The Book of Enoch, a cosmic blueprint. The Book of Enoch, especially 1 Enoch, also called the Ethiopian Enoch, is a pseudepigraphal text dated between the 3rd and 1st centuries BCE. Though not included in most biblical canons, it was influential in Second Temple Judaism and early Christianity. One of the most striking sections of the book is known as the Book of the Luminaries, 1 Enoch 72-82. This portion reveals a meticulous calendar system and describes how angels are appointed to govern the heavenly bodies and natural phenomena. Uriel, one of the archangels, is mentioned specifically as the angel responsible for the world and the Tartarus, including the sun, moon, stars, and seasons. In 1 Enoch 75:1-3 the text says, "The leaders of the heads of the thousands who are placed over the whole creation and over all the stars, have to do with the 4 intercalary days, being inseparable from their office, according to the reckoning of the year, and these render service on the 4 days which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly." This suggests a hidden structure where spiritual agents, angels, oversee and execute the rhythms of nature. 2. The weather angels, named and commissioned. The Book of Enoch goes further to assign roles to specific angels. In 1 Enoch 60, the angels of the waters, winds, thunder, and lightning are named and detailed in their responsibilities. The text reads, "And Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed upon the earth. And the Lord said to Uriel, Go to Noah." But later, in the same chapter, 60:11-22, we see references to angels who rule over natural forces. Ruhiel, possibly a variant of Uriel, governs the wind. Aramiel oversees thunder and lightning. Zerachiel manages the blazing lights of the sky. Ragel is sometimes identified as the angel who maintains balance in the natural world. This division of labor among heavenly beings mirrors earthly governance, like ministers in charge of different departments. Just as a human king appoints officials to oversee his realm, the divine king assigns angels to govern his creation. 3. Biblical echoes, nature obeying the divine will. The idea that spiritual beings command nature is not unique to the Book of Enoch. It resonates deeply with themes found in the Hebrew Bible. For example, Psalm 148 verse 8. Fire and hail, snow and mist, stormy wind fulfilling his word. This verse hints that natural forces act in obedience to God's command, possibly through angelic intermediaries. Job 38-39, God describes to Job the intricate workings of creation. "Have you entered the storehouses of the snow, or have you seen the storehouses of the hail?" Job 38 verse 22. While not naming angels directly, these verses imply that natural elements are part of a divine treasury, perhaps managed by spiritual stewards. Revelation 7 verse 1 in the New Testament continues the tradition. After this I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds. Here, angels quite literally control wind currents, stopping them until they receive permission from heaven. This imagery draws from apocalyptic Jewish sources, especially 1 Enoch. 4. Weather as spiritual communication. In ancient worldviews, weather was not merely a result of atmospheric physics. It was also a form of divine communication. Storms, droughts, and rainbows were interpreted as messages, either blessings or judgments, from the divine realm. Angels therefore did not just control weather for functionality, they were also agents of divine justice and prophecy. Thunderstorms were often seen as divine displeasure. Rain was a blessing associated with heavenly favor. Drought or unnatural weather patterns were interpreted as punishment for sin. In 1 Enoch 100:1-3, the final judgment is described using natural disasters. And in those days the angels shall return and hurl themselves to the east upon the Parthians and Medes, and they shall destroy the land and everything in it, and great fear and trembling shall seize them unto the ends of the earth. The earth itself reacts to angelic movement, showing a mystical connection between spiritual forces and the environment. 5. Kabbalistic interpretations, angels as channels of divine energy. In later Jewish mysticism, especially in Kabbalah, angels are seen as channels through which divine energy flows into the world. The Sephirotic tree, a diagram of divine emanations, associates different angels with specific Sephirot, aspects of God. For example, Raphael corresponds with Tiferet, beauty/harmony, and may oversee healing and balanced forces in nature. Gabriel, associated with Gevurah, judgment, is often linked to fire and destruction, perhaps even storm and lightning. Uriel, meaning light of God, reflects divine illumination, controlling celestial lights like the sun and moon. These interpretations continue the tradition found in Enochic literature but develop it in a more philosophical and symbolic framework. Kabbalists believed that when balance in the spiritual realms was disrupted, such as through sin or evil, the physical world reflected this through natural calamities. Conversely, righteousness and spiritual alignment resulted in harmony in the elements. 6. Theological implications, a spiritual physical cosmos. This angelic governance over nature supports a holistic worldview where the spiritual and physical realms are deeply intertwined. The universe is not a mechanical system running independently of God but a living, breathing creation, constantly in dialogue with the divine through intermediaries. Implications include God's sovereignty. Even the smallest weather change is ultimately under divine control, mediated by his angelic servants. Human responsibility. Because human sin can corrupt creation, see Genesis 6 in the context of Enoch, moral behavior affects the environment. Nature's purpose. Weather is not random. It has a moral and prophetic dimension. This framework shaped how ancient peoples understood plagues, floods, and droughts. Rather than natural accidents, these events were interpreted as part of a divine plan, executed through heavenly agents. 7. Criticism and transition to scientific views. With the rise of modern science, meteorology has replaced angelology in explaining the weather. Wind, rain, and storms are now understood through pressure systems, jet streams, and moisture content. Yet the spiritual perspective hasn't vanished. Many religious individuals and traditions still see divine will operating through natural processes. The angelic explanation is not so much about denying science, but about interpreting meaning behind it. The mystery remains, why do certain disasters occur at specific times? Why do weather patterns sometimes defy prediction? For spiritual thinkers, this mystery leaves room for divine interaction. 8. Modern symbolism and spiritual weather. In contemporary spirituality, weather symbolism still thrives. Rain may symbolize cleansing, renewal. Storms represent chaos, upheaval, or divine confrontation. Rainbows symbolize covenant and peace, Genesis 9. Some modern spiritual movements even engage in weather prayer, asking for rain in drought or protection from storms. While few may explicitly refer to angels, the underlying belief in a spiritual order governing nature persists. Even in literature and film, weather often corresponds to spiritual states, reflecting joy, tragedy, or transformation. The secret symphony of the skies. The concept of angels governing the weather may sound mystical or even mythological in the modern age, but it reflects a profound truth embedded in ancient spiritual thought. The world is not inert. It is alive, orchestrated, and responsive to the moral and spiritual state of creation. From the Book of Enoch to Revelation and from Psalms to Kabbalah, a consistent vision emerges. Angels are more than messengers. They are administrators of divine will. Through wind, fire, rain, and light, they carry out the orders of heaven, ensuring that even the elements follow the rhythms of a higher plan. This sacred order, often hidden from human eyes, invites us to see the world not as random or chaotic, but as deeply purposeful, infused with spiritual intelligence. Whether through the crashing of thunder or the gentle fall of rain, perhaps what we call weather is simply the voice of heaven, speaking through its angelic host. Thank you for joining us on this celestial journey through the seven heavens of Enoch. From the realms of angels and watchers to the throne of the Almighty, we've only scratched the surface of these ancient mysteries. If you found this exploration enlightening, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more hidden truths and forgotten texts. Share your thoughts. Which heaven fascinated you most? What secrets do you think still lie beyond? Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and remember, the heavens declare more than we've ever been told. Stay curious and we'll see you in the next video. Were there once giants who walked the earth? Who were the mysterious Nephilim mentioned in the Bible and ancient texts like the Book of Enoch? In this video, we dive deep into one of the most puzzling and controversial mysteries of ancient times. Were the Nephilim fallen angels, hybrid offspring, or simply misunderstood legends? Join us as we explore the origins, nature, and fate of these giant beings, uncovering clues from scripture, ancient writings, and modern theories. Prepare to challenge what you thought you knew about biblical history and the supernatural. Let's unlock the mystery of the Nephilim together. Discover the ancient mystery of the Nephilim, giants of the Bible and Book of Enoch. Across the ancient pages of the Bible and other ancient texts lies a chilling and captivating mystery, the Nephilim. These giant beings, briefly mentioned in Genesis and elaborated on in apocryphal books like the Book of Enoch, have puzzled scholars, theologians, and mystery seekers for centuries. Were they fallen angels, human hybrids, or simply misunderstood metaphors? In this video we will unravel their origin, explore their purpose, and trace their fate, using scripture, ancient writings, and modern-day interpretations. So sit back and prepare to uncover one of the Bible's most enigmatic secrets, the Nephilim. 1. Who were the Nephilim? The word Nephilim first appears in Genesis 6 verses 1 to 4, in a passage that has sparked centuries of debate. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. The term Nephilim is often translated as giants, but in Hebrew the root word NPL means to fall, or fallen ones. This immediately raises questions. Were these giants in stature or fallen in nature? Some traditions interpret the sons of God, B'nai Elohim, as fallen angels who took human wives, producing giant offspring, the Nephilim. Others argue they were simply godly descendants of Seth intermarrying with the wicked descendants of Cain. But if that's true, why call their offspring giants, or heroes of old? 2. The Book of Enoch's deeper insight. To truly grasp the mystery of the Nephilim, we turn to the Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish text not found in the Bible but widely read in early Judaism and early Christianity. In 1 Enoch chapter 6 to 7 we find a stunning elaboration. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after the daughters of men. They were in all 200 who descended on Mount Hermon. And they took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go in unto them. And they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells. These angels, known as the Watchers, broke divine laws by descending to earth and corrupting human genetics and knowledge. Their offspring, the Nephilim, were violent giants who consumed all the acquisitions of men, even turning to cannibalism, according to Enoch. This paints the Nephilim not just as mythical beings, but as a cosmic corruption, beings that defied the natural order. 3. Their purpose, a cosmic rebellion? So what was the Nephilim's purpose? Were they merely the result of divine lust, or part of a larger rebellion? Many scholars suggest the story of the Watchers and their Nephilim offspring mirrors ancient Mesopotamian myths of gods mating with humans. Yet, in the Hebrew tradition, the act is not celebrated, it is condemned. In this light, the Nephilim become more than giants. They represent a cosmic contamination, an unnatural mingling between the divine and the human, that provoked divine wrath. Indeed, according to Enoch, the Nephilim brought war, magic, weaponry, astrology, and forbidden knowledge to mankind. They were the catalysts of chaos, leading to widespread corruption and ultimately to God's judgment. 4. The flood, God's response to the Nephilim. Genesis 6 is followed by the story of Noah's flood, which is more than just a tale of divine cleansing. It's directly linked to the Nephilim. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created. Genesis 6 verses 5-7. According to the Book of Enoch, the Watchers begged Enoch to intercede with God after seeing their children, the Nephilim, destroy humanity. But God rejected their plea. The flood was a divine reset, meant to cleanse the earth of Nephilim blood. But strangely, Numbers 13:33, written long after the flood, claims, we saw the Nephilim there, the descendants of Enoch come from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes. How could the Nephilim still exist after the flood? This has puzzled interpreters for centuries. 5. Did the Nephilim return after the flood? Some theories propose that the Nephilim bloodline survived through Noah's family, perhaps through his sons' wives, or that another group of fallen angels returned after the flood. In the Book of Numbers, the Anakim, Rephaim, and Emim are all described as giants living in Canaan. King Og of Bashan is said to sleep in a bed over 13 feet long. These may be post-flood echoes of Nephilim bloodlines. Jewish tradition and even early church fathers like Justin Martyr and Irenaeus believed that some Nephilim did survive, and their descendants plagued the Israelites throughout the Old Testament. So while the flood purged much of the earth, it may not have completely eradicated the Nephilim threat. 6. Nephilim in modern theories. Today, the Nephilim remain popular in alternative history, fringe theology, and even UFO circles. Some believe the Nephilim were ancient hybrids created by extraterrestrial beings, interpreting the sons of God as visitors from other worlds. Others suggest the Nephilim were part of an ancient genetic experiment, a concept that aligns with the Book of Enoch's themes of forbidden knowledge and biocorruption. In modern times, these theories have influenced fiction, conspiracy theories, and pop culture, from ancient aliens to the Book of Eli. The idea of a hidden race of ancient giants strikes a deep chord in our collective imagination. 7. Theological implications. But beyond the mystery and mythology, the story of the Nephilim raises theological questions. What does it mean that heavenly beings could mate with humans? How does that affect the understanding of spiritual beings in the material world? Others suggest the Nephilim were part of an ancient genetic experiment, a concept that aligns with the Book of Enoch's themes of forbidden knowledge and biocorruption. In modern times, these theories have influenced fiction, conspiracy theories, and pop culture, from ancient aliens to the Book of Eli. The idea of a hidden race of ancient giants strikes a deep chord in our collective imagination. 7. Theological implications. But beyond the mystery and mythology, the story of the Nephilim raises theological questions. What does it mean that heavenly beings could mate with humans? How does that affect the understanding of spiritual beings in the material world? Many theologians argue that these stories are symbolic, representing the depth of humanity's fall and the extent of evil before the flood. Others take them more literally as warnings of spiritual corruption and boundary crossing. Ultimately, the Nephilim challenge our assumptions about the ancient world, the nature of angels, and the unseen dimensions of reality. 8. The fate of the Nephilim. According to the Book of Enoch, the souls of the Nephilim, though their bodies were destroyed in the flood, became evil spirits that wander the earth, what later texts would call demons. And now the giants who are produced from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies. 1 Enoch 15:8-9. This chilling idea suggests that demons are not fallen angels, but the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, condemned to roam and torment. In this view, the Nephilim didn't just vanish, they transitioned from physical terror to spiritual menace. 9. Lost knowledge and hidden truth. So why was the Book of Enoch excluded from the Bible? Why is the story of the Nephilim so brief in Genesis but richly detailed in banned texts? Some believe the story was suppressed because it threatened theological simplicity. Others think it reflects a hidden tradition of ancient knowledge, one that the early church couldn't endorse. Today, the story of the Nephilim invites us to explore ancient texts with new eyes. Whether literal giants, symbolic fallen beings, or spiritual metaphors, the Nephilim represent the blurred line between heaven and earth, order and chaos, divine and profane. In the end, the Nephilim are more than just ancient giants. They are symbols of rebellion, corruption, and mystery. They point to an ancient time when the boundaries between the divine and human were crossed, with catastrophic consequences. Whether you view them as myth, metaphor, or ancient reality, the Nephilim continue to spark fascination. From the Bible to Enoch, from ancient Mesopotamia to modern theories, they remain one of the most provocative enigmas in biblical history. If you've enjoyed this journey through lost knowledge and forbidden lore, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your theories about the Nephilim in the comments below. Were they fallen angels, hybrids, or something else entirely? Join us next time as we continue to uncover the mysteries of ancient texts, hidden histories, and divine secrets. Until then, stay curious and keep seeking the truth. Giants on Earth, the mysterious Nephilim explained. Across cultures and continents, stories of giants have captivated human imagination. But perhaps none are more mysterious or controversial than the biblical Nephilim. Mentioned briefly yet powerfully in ancient texts, the Nephilim have sparked centuries of debate. Were they fallen angels, hybrid offspring, or simply great warriors? Why were they so feared that their presence warranted a global flood? This article delves deep into the origins, nature, and interpretations of the Nephilim, exploring what the ancient texts really say, and what mysteries still surround these so-called giants of the earth. The biblical origin of the Nephilim. The Nephilim first appear in Genesis 6 verses 1-4, in one of the most cryptic passages in the Hebrew Bible. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, "My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown." Genesis 6 verses 1-4 NIV. This passage precedes the narrative of Noah's flood, suggesting that the rise of the Nephilim was somehow connected to the increasing corruption of the world. The Hebrew term, Nephilim, is often translated as giants, but its root meaning is ambiguous. Derived from the Hebrew verb npl, meaning to fall, some scholars interpret Nephilim as fallen ones, the sons of God, and the daughters of men. The identity of the sons of God is a central question in understanding the Nephilim. There are three primary interpretations. 1. Angelic interpretation, supernatural view. This is the oldest and most traditional view, held by early Jewish writers and many early Christians. According to this interpretation, the sons of God were fallen angels who descended to earth, lusted after human women, and produced hybrid offspring, the Nephilim. This view is supported by the Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish text excluded from the canonical Bible. Enoch 6-7 describes a group of 200 angels, known as the Watchers, who descend to Mount Hermon and take human wives. Their children were monstrous giants who consumed all the resources of earth and turned violent. This corrupted world is what led God to send the flood. And they became pregnant and they bare great giants, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. Enoch 7:2-4. 2. Royal or dynastic interpretation, human view. Some scholars, especially during the post-exilic period, interpreted the sons of God as royal figures or rulers, possibly tyrannical kings who took many wives. The Nephilim would then be their offspring, viewed as mighty warriors or nobles, not supernatural beings. 3. Sethite interpretation, moral view. This Christian interpretation became dominant in later centuries. Here the sons of God are seen as the descendants of Seth, the righteous son of Adam, while the daughters of men are descendants of Cain, the sinful brother. Their intermarriage led to moral corruption, and their offspring, possibly Nephilim, were metaphorically giants in wickedness. The Nephilim and the Great Flood. The appearance of the Nephilim is directly linked to the reason for the flood in Genesis. God saw that human wickedness was great and decided to wipe out humanity, sparing only Noah, who was said to be blameless in his generation. This correlation raises intriguing questions. Were the Nephilim part of the reason for God's judgment? If they were hybrid beings, part angel, part human, was the flood an act of genetic cleansing, so to speak, to restore divine order? The Book of Enoch strongly affirms this idea. According to Enoch, the fallen angels corrupted the earth not only through their offspring but by teaching forbidden knowledge, like sorcery, astrology, and warfare. Post-flood Nephilim. Why were they still around? A major mystery arises from the phrase, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward." Genesis 6 verse 4. If the flood wiped out all living beings except Noah's family, how could the Nephilim appear again? The Nephilim re-emerge in the Book of Numbers, during the Israelites' exploration of Canaan. We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes and we looked the same to them. Numbers 13:33. This suggests that giant-like beings still existed in the Promised Land, an idea that terrified the spies and discouraged the Israelites. These beings are called the Anakim or Rephaim, often associated with giant clans. There are a few theories explaining their post-flood survival. Second incursion theory. Some believe more fallen angels came to earth after the flood and repeated the corruption. Survival theory. Others speculate that one of Noah's daughters-in-law may have carried Nephilim DNA. Exaggeration theory. From a skeptical point of view, the Nephilim of Numbers may have been great warriors or tall tribes whom the Israelites perceived as giants out of fear. Who were the Rephaim, Anakim, and other giants? The Bible and other ancient texts speak of several giant tribes that may be linked to the Nephilim. These include Anakim, descendants of Anak, seen in Canaan, described as exceptionally tall and fearsome. Rephaim, an ancient race of giants, mentioned in Deuteronomy and Genesis. Og, king of Bashan, was a Rephaim and had a massive iron bed over 13 feet long, Deuteronomy 3 verse 11. Zamzummim and Emim, other tribes in the Transjordan said to be giants and feared by neighboring peoples. These references imply that giant-like humans, or at least legendary ones, persisted long after the flood, suggesting that Nephilim-like beings were either symbolic of power or had lingering genetic roots. The Book of Enoch and the Watchers. Though not included in the traditional biblical canon, the Book of Enoch was highly influential in early Jewish and Christian thought. It provides the most detailed account of the origin and fate of the Nephilim. The Watchers, the angels who fell, are judged by God. The Nephilim, their monstrous offspring, are said to be killed in the flood, but their spirits remain on earth, becoming evil spirits or demons. Others suggest the Nephilim were part of an ancient genetic experiment, a concept that aligns with the Book of Enoch's themes of forbidden knowledge and biocorruption. In modern times, these theories have influenced fiction, conspiracy theories, and pop culture, from ancient aliens to the Book of Eli. The idea of a hidden race of ancient giants strikes a deep chord in our collective imagination. 7. Theological implications. But beyond the mystery and mythology, the story of the Nephilim raises theological questions. What does it mean that heavenly beings could mate with humans? How does that affect the understanding of spiritual beings in the material world? Many theologians argue that these stories are symbolic, representing the depth of humanity's fall and the extent of evil before the flood. Others take them more literally as warnings of spiritual corruption and boundary crossing. Ultimately, the Nephilim challenge our assumptions about the ancient world, the nature of angels, and the unseen dimensions of reality. 8. The fate of the Nephilim. According to the Book of Enoch, the souls of the Nephilim, though their bodies were destroyed in the flood, became evil spirits that wander the earth, what later texts would call demons. And now the giants who are produced from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies. 1 Enoch 15:8-9. This chilling idea suggests that demons are not fallen angels, but the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, condemned to roam and torment. In this view, the Nephilim didn't just vanish, they transitioned from physical terror to spiritual menace. 9. Lost knowledge and hidden truth. So why was the Book of Enoch excluded from the Bible? Why is the story of the Nephilim so brief in Genesis but richly detailed in banned texts? Some believe the story was suppressed because it threatened theological simplicity. Others think it reflects a hidden tradition of ancient knowledge, one that the early church couldn't endorse. Today, the story of the Nephilim invites us to explore ancient texts with new eyes. Whether literal giants, symbolic fallen beings, or spiritual metaphors, the Nephilim represent the blurred line between heaven and earth, order and chaos, divine and profane. In the end, the Nephilim are more than just ancient giants, they are symbols of rebellion, corruption, and mystery. They point to an ancient time when the boundaries between the divine and human were crossed, with catastrophic consequences. Whether you view them as myth, metaphor, or ancient reality, the Nephilim continue to spark fascination. From the Bible to Enoch, from ancient Mesopotamia to modern theories, they remain one of the most provocative enigmas in biblical history. If you've enjoyed this journey through lost knowledge and forbidden lore, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your theories about the Nephilim in the comments below. Were they fallen angels, hybrids, or something else entirely? Join us next time as we continue to uncover the mysteries of ancient texts, hidden histories, and divine secrets. Until then, stay curious and keep seeking the truth. In ancient lore, few figures are as enigmatic and feared as Azazel, the angel of chaos. Cast from the heavens, he defied divine order, teaching forbidden secrets, metalwork, weaponry, and mystical arts, to humanity. In Enoch's mythology, Azazel's rebellion sparked upheaval, unleashing corruption and violence upon the earth. His fall exemplifies the dangers of unchecked power, of knowledge misused. Today we peel back the layers of myth to uncover Azazel's forbidden role, exploring how he shaped the boundary between celestial purity and terrestrial chaos. Join us as we venture into the shadowy realms of Enochic tradition, where secrets beg to be revealed. Christian demonology, the shifting identity of Azazel. Christian demonology, a branch of theology that systematically classifies demons and explains their origins and roles within the spiritual cosmos, has evolved through centuries of biblical interpretation, apocryphal literature, patristic writings, and medieval mysticism. Among the many enigmatic figures populating this dark theology, Azazel stands out as particularly complex. From ancient Hebrew scapegoat rituals to medieval depictions of demonic hierarchy, Azazel's identity morphs from fallen angel to demon lord, sometimes even merging with the figure of Satan himself. This essay explores the evolution of Azazel in Christian demonology, examining how his role transitions through scriptural traditions, early Jewish apocalyptic literature, and ultimately into medieval Christian demonology. By examining these transformations, we gain insight into how the Christian worldview absorbed and reinterpreted older mythologies to fit its theological framework. Azazel in ancient Hebrew tradition. The earliest mention of Azazel is found in the Hebrew Bible, specifically in Leviticus 16, which describes the Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, ritual. 2 goats were presented to the high priest, one was sacrificed to Yahweh, and the other was sent into the wilderness to Azazel. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, one lot for the Lord and the other lot for Azazel. Leviticus 16 verse 8 RSV. This passage is cryptic. Scholars debate whether Azazel refers to a place, a demon, or a symbolic act of removing sin. However, in Second Temple Judaism, particularly in the apocalyptic tradition represented by the Book of Enoch, Azazel becomes more than a mysterious name. He becomes a rebellious watcher, one of the angels who defy God and fall to earth. 2. Azazel in the Book of Enoch, the fallen angel. The Book of Enoch, an important apocryphal text excluded from most Christian canons, provides a crucial link in Azazel's transformation. In 1 Enoch, particularly the Book of the Watchers, chapters 6-16, Azazel is portrayed as one of the chief leaders of the rebellious angels who descended upon Mount Hermon and took human wives. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and he showed them metals of the earth and how they should work them. 1 Enoch 8:1. Azazel corrupts humanity by revealing forbidden knowledge, including warfare, cosmetics, and magical arts. His actions result in widespread sin, leading to divine punishment. Unlike some of the other watchers, Azazel is singled out for especially harsh treatment. According to Enoch, the whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin. 1 Enoch 10:8. This is a pivotal moment in demonological thought. Azazel becomes not just a rebellious angel but the embodiment of corruption, the original source of human evil. God commands the angel Raphael to bind Azazel and cast him into a pit in the desert, to await the day of judgment. 3. From Enoch to Christian thought, demonization of Azazel. Although the Book of Enoch was not canonized by most branches of Christianity, it profoundly influenced early Christian theology, especially its demonological framework. The Enochian depiction of fallen angels, spiritual beings who taught humans forbidden knowledge, served as a prototype for later Christian understandings of demons. As Christianity developed in the early centuries AD, Azazel's name was not as prominent in canonical scriptures, yet the ideas he represented, angelic rebellion, the origin of evil, and cosmic punishment, remain central. Church fathers like Tertullian and Origen, though not mentioning Azazel by name, echoed the themes found in Enoch. In Christian interpretation, fallen angels were transformed into demons, and the chief of them, Lucifer or Satan, became the embodiment of rebellion against God. Within this context, Azazel begins to blur with Satan. By the medieval period, demonologists sometimes treated Azazel as an alias or alternate form of the devil. 4. Medieval Christian demonology and the classification of demons. Medieval Christianity, particularly from the 12th century onward, saw a surge in systematic demonology, influenced by both theological speculation and popular folklore. This period sought to map the hierarchy of hell, often mirroring the angelic orders in heaven. Texts such as the Lantern of Light, Dictionnaire Infernal, and grimoires like the Lesser Key of Solomon reflect this impulse to classify demons in ranks and roles. In many of these medieval texts, Azazel is presented as one of the prominent demons of hell. His identity shifts from the corrupted Watcher of Enoch to a fully fledged demon prince, often listed as a subordinate of Lucifer or as a demon of the wilderness and chaos. In the grimoires of Western occultism and magic, Azazel sometimes appears as a standard-bearer in Hell's army, a guardian of hidden knowledge, especially martial knowledge, a tempter of mankind through pride, vanity, and sorcery. Some late medieval and Renaissance demonologists go further and identify Azazel as synonymous with Satan, or at least with one of his major lieutenants. This conflation is logical within the Christian mindset, which often portrayed all rebellion against God as ultimately satanic. Azazel, the one to whom all sin is ascribed, in Enoch, easily became equated with the prince of demons. V. Azazel in occult and esoteric Christian traditions. Outside the official theological structures of the Church, Azazel continued to appear in mystical and magical texts. These esoteric traditions, particularly those influenced by Hermeticism, Kabbalah, and later Rosicrucian and alchemical writings, often reinterpreted Azazel's role in more symbolic or mystical ways. In some grimoires, Azazel is invoked as a spirit of knowledge, particularly in rituals meant to gain power, secret wisdom, or military success. His associations with metallurgy, weaponry, and forbidden arts persisted, reflecting his role in Enoch as the bringer of civilization's darker tools. One of the most famous references to Azazel appears in the Goetia, a section of the Lesser Key of Solomon, though he is not listed among the 72 demons. However, modern occult practitioners often include or invoke him, sometimes associating him with Lucifer or Samael. 6. Azazel and Satan, distinct or identical. One of the most debated aspects of Christian demonology is whether Azazel is a distinct being from Satan or simply another name for the same adversary. While canonical scripture rarely mentions Azazel by name, Satan is a central figure in both Old and New Testaments. The key distinctions lie in origin and function. Satan is typically portrayed in the New Testament as the great adversary, the tempter of Christ, and the accuser of mankind. See Revelation 12, Luke 4. Azazel, rooted in the Hebrew ritual tradition and expanded through Enoch, is more associated with the origin of sin, specifically through revelation of forbidden knowledge. However, both figures are bound by a common theme: opposition to divine will. Over time, the Christian imagination increasingly collapsed these identities into one another, reinforcing a dualistic worldview where all evil flows from a single ultimate source. In some medieval texts, Azazel is part of a triad or infernal trinity, alongside Satan and Beelzebub, representing different aspects of the demonic agenda: pride, lust, and wrath, for example. This theological structure allowed demonologists to assign specific sins and corruptions to different spirits, making Azazel a key figure in the temptation of humanity. 7. Modern interpretations and legacy. In modern Christian thought, Azazel is not frequently mentioned in mainstream theology. However, in scholarly and esoteric circles, he continues to be a topic of fascination. Contemporary theologians and historians view Azazel as a syncretic figure, part biblical scapegoat, part Enochian rebel, part medieval demon. His character embodies the evolution of how ancient religions externalized evil and built mythological frameworks to explain suffering and sin. In popular culture, Azazel has seen a resurgence through novels, films, and TV series. He appears as a demon in Supernatural, as a villain in the X-Men universe, and as a central figure in various horror stories. These portrayals often draw from his ancient reputation as a corrupter and deceiver. For modern occultists and Luciferian groups, Azazel is sometimes revered as a symbol of rebellion against tyranny or as a source of forbidden knowledge. This echoes his Enochian role and affirms his place in the mythological imagination as a defiant bringer of power and autonomy. The demonology of ambiguity. Azazel's journey from Leviticus to medieval Christian demonology reveals the fluidity of religious myth-making. Originally a mysterious figure associated with the wilderness, he becomes a cosmic villain in Enoch, a demon prince in Christian tradition, and a symbolic archetype in modern spirituality. His identity is never fixed. He is sometimes a scapegoat, sometimes a watcher, a fallen angel, a demon, a lieutenant of Lucifer, or even Satan himself. This ambiguity makes Azazel a powerful symbol in demonology. He embodies not just the personification of sin, but the evolving understanding of evil itself. Through Azazel, we glimpse how Christianity, borrowing from its Jewish roots and adapting to changing cultural fears, constructed a hierarchy of hell to explain the chaos of the human condition. He is, in many ways, the theological shadow of divine law, standing just outside the sanctuary in the wilderness waiting. Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah. The figure of Azazel and his role in chaos and impurity. Jewish mysticism, particularly as articulated through Kabbalah, offers a rich and complex view of the spiritual world. Unlike the rationalist traditions of medieval Jewish philosophy, Kabbalah embraces mystery, symbolic language, and mythic cosmology to describe God's emanations, the structure of the universe, and the dynamics of good and evil. Within this framework, certain figures, though not always prominent in canonical Jewish texts, are deeply reinterpreted and expanded. One such figure is Azazel. While briefly mentioned in the Hebrew Bible, Azazel evolves through later Jewish mystical traditions into a symbol of impurity, wilderness, and chaos. In Kabbalistic cosmology, Azazel becomes associated with the left side of divine emanation, opposing holiness and alignment with divine order. This essay explores the role of Azazel within Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah, tracing how this enigmatic figure became emblematic of rebellion, impurity, and the dark, chaotic dimensions of existence that challenge divine harmony. Biblical origins of Azazel, the scapegoat and the wilderness. The earliest mention of Azazel appears in Leviticus 16, within the context of the Yom Kippur ritual. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, one lot for the Lord and the other lot for Azazel. Leviticus 16 verse 8. One goat is sacrificed to God and the other, the scapegoat, is sent into the wilderness to Azazel, bearing the sins of the people. Scholars and rabbis have long debated who or what Azazel represents. Is Azazel a place? A spirit? A demon? Some classical commentators such as Rashi interpreted Azazel as a remote, rugged cliff, a symbolic location for removing sin. Others, including Ibn Ezra and later mystical thinkers, suggested that Azazel was a spiritual being or force, a demon of the wilderness. This ambiguity sets the stage for Azazel's later evolution in mystical and apocalyptic traditions. Azazel in Second Temple literature, the Book of Enoch. The figure of Azazel gains significant mythological expansion in apocalyptic texts written during the Second Temple period, particularly in the Book of Enoch, 1 Enoch, which was influential in both Jewish and early Christian circles. In the Book of the Watchers, 1 Enoch 6-16, Azazel is portrayed as a fallen angel, one of the Watchers who descend to earth and corrupt humanity. Azazel's role is unique. He teaches humanity forbidden knowledge such as weapon making, cosmetics, enchantments, and warfare. He is blamed for corrupting the earth with sin, pride, and impurity. The archangel Raphael is instructed to bind Azazel and cast him into a desert abyss until the final judgment. In this apocalyptic vision, Azazel is no longer just a symbolic wilderness figure. He is a demonic corrupter, leading both angels and humans astray. This version of Azazel strongly influenced later mystical and esoteric Jewish thought, particularly within the Kabbalistic tradition. Kabbalah, a cosmic map of divinity and evil. The mystical system of Kabbalah, especially as developed in the Zohar 13th century Spain, and later Lurianic Kabbalah 16th century Safed, offers a sophisticated cosmology centered around the Sefirot, 10 emanations of divine energy. In this cosmic structure, all reality flows from Ein Sof, the infinite and unknowable God, through the Sefirot. These Sefirot are usually divided into right, chesed or mercy, and left, Gevura or judgment, sides. The balance between these polarities sustains the universe. However, Kabbalah also recognizes the presence of impure forces, known as the Sitra Achra, Aramaic, the other side, a realm of demonic or unholy powers that exist in opposition to the holy Sefirot. These forces are not separate from God but represent the distorted reflection of divine energy when it becomes unbalanced or misused. It is within this symbolic framework that Azazel becomes more than a myth. He becomes a representation of the chaotic, rebellious, and destructive forces of the left side when it is detached from its divine source. Azazel in the Zohar, wilderness, impurity, and the left side. The Zohar, the foundational text of medieval Kabbalah, mentions Azazel as a demonic ruler, often associated with the desert and sexual impurity. The desert itself becomes a symbol of spiritual desolation, removed from holiness and structure. In Zoharic symbolism, Azazel is sometimes paired with Lilith, the demonic feminine archetype. Together they represent aspects of impurity and seduction, feeding off human transgression. Azazel in this context is not simply evil for evil's sake. He functions as part of the cosmic balance, absorbing impurity during rituals like Yom Kippur to cleanse the sacred space. Here, Azazel embodies the other side of holiness, necessary but dangerous. Without the existence of such a figure to receive and contain impurity, sin would overflow into the holy realm. The goat sent to Azazel, then, is not merely expelled, it is offered to this demonic force as a way of diverting judgment and cleansing the community. In this way, Azazel paradoxically serves the divine plan, albeit from the shadows. The left side, Gevurah, Din, and the danger of severed power. To understand Azazel's place in Kabbalistic thought, one must delve into the structure of the left side in the Sephirotic system. The left side includes Gevurah, severity, Din, judgment, and ultimately Samel, the angel of wrath and destruction, who is often considered a key force within the Sitra Achra. Azazel is sometimes linked or identified with Samel, or portrayed as a lesser demon operating within Samel's domain. Both figures exemplify the disruptive potential of unbalanced judgment, which, when disconnected from divine mercy, chesed, can lead to harshness, tyranny, and spiritual chaos. Thus, Azazel is a product of divine judgment run amok, severed from its root in holiness. In Lurianic Kabbalah, this severance is explained through the myth of the Shevered HaKalim, the shattering of the vessels. When divine light poured into unready vessels during creation, the vessels shattered, releasing chaotic sparks. These sparks fell into the realm of Kelipot, husks or shells, where impure entities like Azazel reside. Azazel, in this view, is a holder of fallen sparks, a being sustained by divine energy that has been diverted and corrupted. Redemption involves extracting these sparks from the realms of impurity and restoring them to holiness. Wilderness and chaos. Azazel as the Lord of the Desert. The desert is a recurring theme in Jewish mysticism. It represents spiritual exile, a place of testing, temptation, and encounter with the demonic. Azazel's domain is the wilderness because it mirrors his essence, formless, uninhabitable, and spiritually barren. In mystical commentary, the wilderness becomes the mirror of the soul's exile, the chaotic space where God's presence seems hidden. Just as Israel wandered the desert in a liminal state, so too does the soul pass through wilderness experiences, encountering Azazel-like forces that tempt or destroy. Kabbalists interpret the scapegoat ritual as a symbolic drama of casting chaos out of the sacred center. By sending the goat to Azazel, Israel removes spiritual toxins, offering them to a being who thrives in such desolation. Azazel and the human psyche, temptation, projection, and purification. Beyond cosmology, Kabbalah frequently maps spiritual forces onto the inner life of the individual. Azazel, in this context, becomes a symbol of inner temptation, ego-driven power, and the urge to rebel against divine order. Just as the scapegoat bears communal sin, Azazel represents the projection of human guilt onto an external figure. This projection is both dangerous and necessary. It allows people to externalize impurity and engage in ritual purification. The mystical lesson here is not to worship or fear Azazel, but to understand his function. He is a necessary part of the cosmic system that channels negativity away from the holy, allowing for balance and healing. Azazel in later Jewish esotericism and folk tradition. Later Jewish mystical and magical texts, especially those influenced by Kabbalistic demonology, continue to explore Azazel's role. He is sometimes invoked or warded off, in amulets, incantations, and protective prayers. His name is associated with accusation, sexual corruption, and destructive power. In Hasidic and later mystical traditions, the figure of Azazel is less emphasized, but the themes he embodies, wilderness, chaos, and the need to subdue the other side, remain central to spiritual practice. The mystical meaning of Azazel. Azazel, within Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah, is far more than a scapegoat or fallen angel. He is a powerful symbol of the cosmic struggle between order and chaos, holiness and impurity, divine structure and rebellious force. Positioned on the left side of the divine map, Azazel represents what happens when judgment and power are disconnected from mercy and love. But paradoxically, he also serves a redemptive purpose, absorbing impurity, marking boundaries between sacred and profane, and reminding humanity of the delicate balance that sustains the universe. Through the lens of Kabbalah, Azazel's presence is not an accident or mere evil. He is a necessary adversary, a force that reveals the consequences of imbalance, and a shadow through which the light of divine harmony shines more clearly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mysterious and chaotic legacy of Azazel. From forbidden teachings to his exile into the wilderness, Azazel's role in Enoch's mythology continues to echo through ancient texts and modern interpretations. If this journey into angelic rebellion and divine judgment fascinated you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into biblical mysteries and ancient lore. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you see Azazel as a villain, a scapegoat, or something more? Until next time, stay curious, stay questioning, and keep uncovering the secrets hidden in sacred history. Welcome to a journey beyond the veil of ordinary reality. In this video we explore heavenly realms and angelic wars, the hidden cosmology of Enoch. The Book of Enoch reveals a universe far more vast and mysterious than the Bible alone describes. Multiple heavens, angelic orders, and a war that forever changed creation. Why was this knowledge hidden? Who are the angels that rebelled? And what secrets lie within the layers of heaven? Join us as we uncover the forbidden cosmology that reshapes our understanding of the divine realm. Angelic wars, celestial conflict in the Book of Enoch. The phrase angelic wars hints at a profound and dramatic spiritual conflict that transcends the human realm, a clash not of mortals but of heavenly beings. Few ancient texts capture this theme as vividly and powerfully as the Book of Enoch, a pseudepigraphal work attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. While excluded from most canonical Bibles, this text profoundly influenced early Jewish and Christian thought. One of its most riveting themes is the celestial rebellion of the Watchers, a group of angels whose defiance triggered chaos in heaven and on earth. This essay will explore the concept of angelic wars as it appears in the Book of Enoch, examining the nature of the Watchers, their transgression, the resulting consequences, and how these cosmic events reflect larger theological and mythological structures in biblical tradition. The Watchers, guardians of heaven. The Book of Enoch, particularly its first section known as the Book of the Watchers, chapters 1 to 36, introduces readers to a unique group of angels called the Watchers, Gregorian Greek. These angels were originally tasked with watching over humanity. The name Watchers itself suggests surveillance, guardianship, and responsibility. But as the narrative unfolds, these celestial beings become tragic figures in one of the Bible's earliest depictions of rebellion. Two central figures among the Watchers are Semjaza and Azazel. Semjaza is portrayed as the leader who proposes the idea of descending to earth and taking human women as wives. Azazel, another prominent figure, becomes a symbol of deeper corruption, introducing humanity to forbidden knowledge such as weaponry, sorcery, and vanity. The decision to descend from heaven was not taken lightly. According to 1 Enoch 6, the Watchers make a pact on Mount Hermon, an act of solidarity in their defiance of God. This rebellion isn't just a mere disobedience. It's the beginning of a divine war, not in the sense of swords and armies, but in terms of cosmic law, hierarchy, and divine order. The sin of the Watchers, a cosmic breach. The transgression of the Watchers centers around two major sins: interbreeding with human women. The Watchers, captivated by human beauty, take mortal women as wives, leading to the birth of the Nephilim, giants or mighty beings who wreak havoc upon the earth. This union is depicted as an unnatural crossing of boundaries, violating the created order. The Nephilim, described in Genesis 6 verse 4 and elaborated in Enoch, are hybrid beings, both divine and mortal, but ultimately monstrous. Teaching forbidden knowledge. The Watchers not only fathered a race of giants but also taught humanity secret knowledge that was reserved for the divine realm. Azazel is singled out for instructing men in the art of warfare and women in the art of seduction. Other angels are credited with revealing astrology, enchantments, root cutting, medicine or sorcery, and other mystical arts. This knowledge, rather than being empowering, leads to corruption. Humanity becomes increasingly violent, arrogant, and depraved. The earth itself cries out under the weight of sin, bloodshed, and injustice. The sins of the Watchers thus introduce moral chaos and environmental disorder, a widespread decay that threatens all of creation. The divine response, angelic judgment and celestial warfare. The rebellion of the Watchers does not go unnoticed. God, who observes all, sends a stern response through his archangels: Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel. These powerful beings represent divine justice, healing, and cosmic order. Each archangel is given a mission. Raphael is commanded to bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him into the desert, covering his face with darkness and condemning him until the day of judgment. Gabriel is instructed to destroy the Nephilim, setting them to fight against each other until their extinction. Michael is told to bind Simjaza and the other rebellious Watchers and imprison them in the valleys of the earth, under jagged rocks, until the final judgment. Uriel warns Noah about the coming flood, a divine act meant to cleanse the earth from the corruption caused by the Watchers and their offspring. These actions form the heart of the angelic wars, not in the form of traditional warfare, but in the execution of divine justice. The faithful angels act as agents of order, warring not just against the rebellious Watchers but against cosmic imbalance itself. This angelic judgment is both a punishment and a cosmic reset. The imprisonment of the Watchers and the annihilation of the Nephilim signal a return to divine order, culminating in the flood, which serves as a global purification. Celestial courts and apocalyptic imagery. The Book of Enoch gives readers a glimpse into celestial courtrooms, where angels are judged and sentenced. The Watchers, in a desperate plea, ask Enoch to intercede for them. He ascends to heaven in a visionary journey and witnesses the divine throne, surrounded by glory, fire, and indescribable brilliance. But the judgment is final. God rejects the Watchers' petition. In 1 Enoch 15, he declares that these angels have defiled themselves with mortal flesh and can no longer return to heaven. Their offspring, the Nephilim, though dead, will have their spirits remain on earth as evil spirits, an origin story for demons in some ancient traditions. The vision is deeply apocalyptic. Fire, stars falling from heaven, mountains melting like wax, and rivers of blood paint a picture of cosmic upheaval. These images prefigure similar apocalyptic texts in later Jewish and Christian writings, including the Book of Daniel and the Book of Revelation. Symbolism and theological implications. The angelic wars described in Enoch are rich in symbolism and theological significance. At the core, they address fundamental questions. What happens when divine beings rebel against God? Is knowledge inherently dangerous? Can the created order recover from celestial disruption? The Watchers' fall represents the danger of transgressing divinely established boundaries. Their desire to descend and act as gods among men reflects hubris, a major sin in both biblical and classical traditions. Moreover, the imparting of forbidden knowledge suggests a parallel with the story of the fall in Genesis. Just as Eve was tempted by the serpent to eat from the tree of knowledge, humanity here is seduced by celestial beings offering divine secrets. Knowledge outside divine timing or purpose leads to destruction. The Nephilim, in turn, become the personification of sin's consequences, giants in stature but grotesque in morality. Their violence and excess show what happens when human nature is mixed with unrestrained power. Influence on later traditions. Though not included in the Hebrew Bible, the Book of Enoch heavily influenced early Jewish mysticism and apocalyptic literature, such as the Book of Jubilees, 2 Baruch, and parts of Daniel. Its echoes are also heard in the New Testament. Jude 6 refers directly to the angels who did not keep their own domain, but abandoned their proper dwelling, mirroring the Watchers' sin. 2 Peter 2 verse 4 speaks of angels cast into hell and bound in chains, a direct nod to Enoch's story. Revelation 12 describes a war in heaven, where Michael and his angels fight the dragon, another symbolic echo of angelic conflict. Church fathers like Tertullian and Justin Martyr took Enoch seriously, viewing it as scripture. Over time, however, the book was excluded from most biblical canons, remaining authoritative only in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Some scholars believe its exclusion was due to its complex angelology and its association with apocalyptic sects, psychological and moral layers. Beyond mythology and theology, the story of the angelic wars reflects internal human struggles. The Watchers' fall can be read allegorically as the fall of reason to passion, or spirit to flesh. The hybrid offspring represent the chaos that ensues when unnatural unions, moral, spiritual, or philosophical, are pursued. Furthermore, the Watcher's desire to become gods on earth mirrors the perennial human temptation to transcend limitations, to seek power, knowledge, and immortality outside divine boundaries. Their imprisonment under the earth is a reminder that all rebellion has consequence, even for angels. A cosmic drama still resonating. The angelic conflict in Enoch has not faded with time. It continues to inspire art, film, literature, and theology. From Milton's Paradise Lost to modern portrayals of fallen angels, the archetype of celestial rebellion still captivates the human imagination. The idea that even the most exalted beings can fall is both a warning and a paradox. It challenges us to reflect on free will, divine justice, and the mystery of evil. In Enoch, the angelic wars are not just ancient tales. They are warnings, prophecies, and meditations on the fragile balance between heaven and earth, order and chaos, obedience and pride. The concept of angelic wars, in the Book of Enoch, is a multifaceted exploration of cosmic conflict, divine judgment, and human corruption. At its heart is the rebellion of the Watchers, celestial beings who, in crossing forbidden lines, unleash a chain of events that leads to the birth of monsters, the spread of forbidden knowledge, and a divine response of apocalyptic proportions. This ancient narrative speaks not only to theological questions but also to the human condition, the dangers of pride, the misuse of knowledge, and the eternal tension between order and chaos. Whether viewed as myth, theology, or allegory, the angelic wars of Enoch remain a haunting reminder of the cost of rebellion, and the enduring power of divine justice. The hidden cosmology, secrets of the universe in ancient thought. Throughout human history, the cosmos has been a source of mystery, wonder, and speculation. From the spinning constellations to the cycles of the moon, ancient civilizations crafted elaborate cosmologies, models of the universe that shaped their spiritual, moral, and societal frameworks. But not all cosmological ideas made it into mainstream religion or modern science. Some were suppressed, rejected, or hidden, locked away in apocryphal texts, oral traditions, and esoteric teachings. This realm of forbidden or forgotten knowledge is what we call the hidden cosmology. This concept suggests that ancient humans were aware of deeper, more complex truths about the universe, truths that were deliberately concealed, misunderstood, or lost over time. The hidden cosmology exists at the intersection of mythology, theology, astronomy, and metaphysics. It's preserved in sources like the Book of Enoch, Gnostic texts, Kabbalistic writings, and mythologies from Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Mesoamerica. This essay explores the elements of this hidden worldview, why it may have been suppressed, and what it might still reveal to us today. What is cosmology, and what makes it hidden? Cosmology, in its broadest sense, is the study of the origins, structure, and nature of the universe. In the modern scientific world, it refers to physical models derived from mathematics and astronomy. In ancient traditions, however, cosmology was not just scientific. It was spiritual, symbolic, and moral. It explained where humans came from, the role of divine beings, the structure of heaven and earth, and the ultimate destiny of creation. The term hidden cosmology refers to alternative visions of the universe that diverge from mainstream narratives. These ideas are hidden not just because they were forgotten over time, but because they were often deliberately excluded from religious canons or scientific orthodoxy. In many cases, they were associated with forbidden knowledge, divine rebellion, or mystical experiences that were seen as dangerous or heretical. 2. The three-tiered universe, heaven, earth, and the underworld. One of the most common ancient cosmologies was the three-tiered universe. The heavens, the realm of divine beings, stars, and spiritual powers. The earth, the middle world where humans live. The underworld, the place of the dead or spiritual imprisonment. This structure appears across many cultures. The Hebrew Bible, Sumerian myths, Hindu cosmology, Norse Yggdrasil, and Mayan world trees all describe a layered universe. But in hidden cosmology, these levels were not just metaphysical. They were places that could be traversed through spiritual or visionary means. The Book of Enoch, for example, describes Enoch being taken up into the heavens by angels, where he sees the workings of the universe, cosmic winds, prisons for fallen angels and heavenly temples. This travel into the divine realms suggests a cosmology far more dynamic than the earthly-focused world of conventional religion. It points to the idea that humans too can ascend and access divine knowledge, something the religious authorities may have viewed as threatening. 3. The Watchers and the Forbidden Sciences. One of the most famous examples of hidden cosmology comes from the Book of Enoch, particularly the tale of the Watchers, a group of angels who descended from heaven and taught humanity forbidden arts and sciences. These included astrology and star lore, metallurgy and weapons making, cosmetics and enchantments, plant and root medicine, divination and spell casting. This narrative echoes the idea that the earliest knowledge given to mankind, particularly knowledge about the stars, heavens, and the elements, was divine in origin but misused. The Watchers' rebellion led to the corruption of humanity and the rise of the Nephilim, giant hybrid beings, and their punishment included being cast into the depths of the earth. The hidden cosmology here involves a celestial realm filled with beings not only capable of teaching humans but also influencing history. This idea contrasts sharply with modern theology, which typically presents angels as obedient messengers of God, not rogue agents of cosmic disruption. 4. The Cosmic Temple, Sacred Geometry and the Universe. Another layer of hidden cosmology lies in the belief that the universe itself is a temple, structured according to divine geometry. In ancient Judaism, the temple in Jerusalem was believed to reflect the cosmos, with its different sections representing different realms. The outer court is earth, the holy place as the heavens, the Holy of Holies as the throne of God. In Kabbalistic teachings, the universe is described as a series of emanations or spherod, which represent different aspects of God's being and serve as channels of divine energy. This tree of life model maps the soul, creation, and divine realities in a way that merges physics, spirituality, and morality. The idea that sacred structures and rituals mirrored the cosmos is widespread, from the pyramids of Egypt to the ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the layout of ancient churches. Hidden cosmology insists that these alignments were not just symbolic but functional. By participating in these rituals, humans could influence the universe or even ascend into higher states of being. Suppressed cosmologies. Why were they hidden? Why were these cosmologies suppressed or excluded? The reasons vary, but common themes include control of knowledge. Cosmologies that emphasized personal revelation or mystical ascent threatened religious hierarchies. Heretical elements. Texts like Enoch or Gnostic Gospels often contradicted accepted doctrine about creation, angels, or salvation. Fear of spiritual power. Esoteric knowledge was believed to be dangerous if misused, leading to corruption or even demonic possession. Colonial and political pressures. During the spread of Christianity and later during the Enlightenment, alternative cosmologies were labeled as superstition or paganism. By centralizing acceptable cosmology into state-supported religion or science, societies could impose a unified worldview. But in doing so, much ancient wisdom was left in the shadows. 6. Gnostic cosmology, a universe of light and darkness. The Gnostics, early Christian mystics, developed a radically different cosmology that was hidden or suppressed by the Church. They believed the material world was created by a false god, the demiurge who trapped divine sparks in physical bodies. Salvation therefore came not through faith alone but through gnosis, direct knowledge of the divine. Their cosmology included eons, divine beings emanating from the true unknowable God. Archons, rulers of the material realm who try to keep souls imprisoned. Sophia, a divine feminine figure who fell and gave rise to creation. Ascension, a soul's journey through layers of heaven after death. This complex cosmology paints the universe as a battleground between illusion and truth. The Gnostic idea that the visible world is a prison runs contrary to the Genesis creation story, it is good, and was therefore declared heretical. Yet it resonates with similar themes in Hinduism, Buddhism, and esoteric Christianity, suggesting that such a worldview may hold pieces of an ancient, global cosmological puzzle. 7. Astronomy and ancient star knowledge. Another component of hidden cosmology is the ancient knowledge of the stars. Many ancient civilizations aligned temples and pyramids with solstices, equinoxes, and planetary movements. They believed that celestial bodies had a profound influence on human destiny. In hidden traditions, the stars are seen as living beings or divine watchers. The zodiac encodes spiritual stages of the soul. The precession of the equinoxes marks great cosmic ages, e.g., Age of Aquarius. Some scholars argue that such knowledge was encoded into myth. For instance, the 12 disciples of Jesus representing the 12 signs of the zodiac, or the Egyptian god Osiris symbolizing the constellation Orion. As Christianity rose to prominence, many of these star-based systems were labeled as pagan or astrological, and their cosmological implications were erased. 8. Modern implications and rediscovery. Today, scholars, mystics, and seekers are rediscovering these ancient cosmologies. The popularity of books on sacred geometry, esoteric Judaism, ancient aliens, and Gnosticism reveals a growing hunger for alternative models of the universe. Modern cosmology feels cold and impersonal, a universe of blind forces and meaningless accidents. Spiritual traditions offer a more meaningful narrative, one that places humans in a cosmic story. Hidden cosmologies bridge science and spirit, inviting a holistic worldview. We are now in a position to reevaluate these ancient models with new tools: archaeology, comparative mythology, quantum physics, and consciousness studies. What once seemed superstitious might be symbolic representations of real, yet unrecognized, truths. Embracing the mystery. The idea of a hidden cosmology is not just about ancient stories, it's about questioning what we think we know about the universe. It challenges us to consider that the cosmos may be conscious, multidimensional, and spiritually alive, not just a machine but a mystery. In reclaiming suppressed or forgotten cosmologies, we don't just learn about the past, we expand our vision of what's possible. The true power of hidden cosmology lies in its ability to awaken awe, inspire humility, and remind us that the universe may still hold secrets we have yet to imagine. As the Book of Enoch, Gnostic scriptures, and countless mythologies have whispered across the ages, there is more above and below than meets the eye. Thank you for exploring the hidden dimensions of Enoch with us. From angelic wars to the secrets of the heavens, the Book of Enoch challenges what we know about the spiritual world. If this cosmic journey intrigued you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts below. Do you believe these realms exist? And what do you think really happened in the angelic rebellion? Join us next time as we uncover more lost knowledge from ancient texts and forbidden scriptures. Until then, stay curious and keep your eyes on the heavens. Welcome to a journey beyond time and space, where ancient prophecy meets cosmic destiny. In this video, we dive deep into the end times and Enoch prophecies and cosmic judgment. Discover how the Book of Enoch unveils a divine timeline of final judgment, celestial upheaval, and the fate of both angels and humanity. From the rebellion of the Watchers to the rise of the Elect One, Enoch's visions offer a startling look at the end of days. Are these ancient warnings still echoing in our world today? Stay tuned as we uncover the mysteries of Enoch's apocalyptic revelations. Enoch and the Cosmic End Times. A visionary's journey into divine judgment. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish apocalyptic text attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, presents one of the most profound and elaborate visions of divine judgment and cosmic order in all ancient literature. Unlike the canonical scriptures that focus heavily on earthly events and historical covenants, the Enochian tradition offers a wider, almost cosmic lens through which divine justice is administered, not just upon humans but upon all of creation. Enoch the righteous, a man taken by God. Enoch first appears in Genesis 5 verses 21 to 24, where he is described as a man who walked with God, and was taken by him, bypassing death. The brief biblical mention left room for speculation, myth, and theological exploration. Later Jewish and Christian traditions, especially in the Book of Enoch, also called 1 Enoch, expand on this enigmatic figure, transforming him into a prophet, scribe of heaven, and seer of the mysteries of creation and judgment. According to 1 Enoch, Enoch is not merely a righteous man but becomes a heavenly intermediary, a prophet lifted into the heavens to witness divine secrets and to write them down for humanity. His righteousness earns him access to realms that even the angels tread with awe. He records the movements of stars, the fates of fallen angels, and the mechanics of divine judgment. His story becomes a conduit for understanding cosmic justice, angelic hierarchies, and the impending apocalypse. Enoch's role as the heavenly scribe. The Book of Enoch describes Enoch as the scribe of righteousness, a role that places him among the most unique prophetic figures in religious literature. Rather than simply proclaiming God's word, Enoch records it. He is shown being given books and scrolls in heaven. Books filled with secrets of time, space, morality, and destiny. In 1 Enoch 89:1-9, he receives heavenly tablets that contain divine decrees, including the fate of nations and angels. This image of a mortal becoming a cosmic historian and archivist suggests that divine judgment is not arbitrary. Everything is documented. The role of the scribe implies a structured moral universe where all actions, of humans, angels, and celestial bodies, are observed and accounted for. Enoch's writings become warnings to generations, especially concerning the end times, which he details in terrifying grandeur. Visions of the end times, not just earthly but cosmic. In the Enochian apocalyptic narrative, the end times, or the day of judgment, are not merely events localized to Earth. They are universal in scope, affecting all layers of creation. The Book of the Watchers, 1 Enoch 1-36, and the Book of the Heavenly Luminaries, 1 Enoch 72-82, both elaborate on a reality where the cosmos itself is implicated in moral law and participates in judgment. Cosmic participation. In Enoch's visions, the stars and heavenly bodies are not inert matter but spiritual entities or forces governed by divine law. These luminaries follow precise paths set by God, as described in 1 Enoch 72-75, which outlines the solar and lunar calendars. When stars deviate from their paths, it symbolizes rebellion, just as the Watchers, a group of angels, deviated from their divine missions and descended to earth. This rebellion of stars and angels parallels human rebellion. Just as humans are judged for wickedness, so too are the angels judged for transgressing their assigned roles. The punishment of the Watchers is portrayed in chilling detail in 1 Enoch 10, where God commands the archangel Raphael to bind Azazel, a leader of the Watchers, in the desert and cast him into a dark pit until the final judgment. This introduces the concept of cosmic accountability. The very elements of the universe, angels, stars, winds, and waters, are not neutral. They are morally significant and capable of sin or obedience. Angels, elements, and judgment. The role of angels. Angels in Enoch's vision are not all equal. They are organized into hierarchies, some loyal to God, others fallen. The loyal ones are agents of divine order. For example, Michael is the protector of the righteous. Raphael is the healer of the earth. Gabriel oversees punishment and warfare. Uriel governs celestial phenomena. These archangels are tasked with overseeing not only humanity but the natural elements. This suggests a spiritual governance of physical phenomena, where weather, geography, and even natural disasters are linked to spiritual realities. The elements as divine witnesses. One of the most fascinating elements in the Enochian worldview is the personification and moralization of nature. Winds, waters, fire, and celestial bodies are described not merely as forces of nature but as witnesses and agents of divine justice. In 1 Enoch 60, Enoch is given a vision where he sees the secrets of the thunder and lightning, and the spirits of the sea and rivers. These elements are not random or chaotic but are governed by angelic beings, and they will play roles in the cosmic upheaval during the end times. For instance, the seas may rise, the stars may fall, and winds may tear across the earth, not as blind catastrophes, but as intentional acts of divine judgment. This theme echoes in 1 Enoch 80, where cosmic signs like irregular solar and lunar cycles, darkened skies, and erratic weather are seen as harbingers of the end, not mere natural phenomena. The fall of the Watchers, a template for judgment. The story of the Watchers, fallen angels who descended to earth and taught humanity forbidden knowledge, serves as a template for divine judgment. The Watchers corrupted both themselves and humanity, and their punishment is used to foreshadow the fate of all who rebel against divine law. According to 1 Enoch 6-16, these angels take human wives, beget the Nephilim, giants, and teach secrets of war, astrology, sorcery, and seduction. Their actions disrupt the moral and cosmic balance. As a result, God commands their imprisonment in a subterranean realm until the final day when they will be cast into the abyss of fire. This narrative reflects a deeply ethical universe, where knowledge and power are not neutral, and where moral boundaries govern even the divine beings. The fall of the Watchers suggests that not even angels are exempt from moral accountability. Final judgment, restoration through cosmic fire. The climax of Enoch's apocalyptic vision is not only destruction but restoration. The final judgment involves a purifying fire that cleanses creation of all unrighteousness. This idea is elaborated in 1 Enoch 91-105, often called the Epistle of Enoch, where the righteous are promised new heavens and a new earth. In 1 Enoch 91:16, Enoch speaks of a time when the first heaven shall depart and pass away, a new heaven shall appear, and all the powers of the heavens shall give sevenfold light. This is not merely poetic language, it suggests cosmic renewal. Just as the old creation was marred by rebellion, by humans and angels alike, the new creation will be an ordered, harmonious cosmos under divine sovereignty. The final judgment, then, is not just about punishing the wicked. It is a reordering of reality, a cosmic reset where the righteous shine like stars and creation is restored to its original purpose. A universe under moral law. What makes Enoch's vision so compelling is its moral architecture. In modern secular thought, the universe is often seen as indifferent, governed by impersonal laws of physics and chance. But in Enoch's apocalyptic worldview, the universe is deeply personal, structured, and ethical. Stars follow paths not just because of gravity but because they obey divine will. Angels have roles not just as messengers, but as governors of creation. Natural disasters are not random, they are responses to moral corruption. History is not chaotic, it is unfolding according to a divine timetable. This theological cosmology transforms how one views existence. It implies that every action matters, not just on earth but in heaven and beyond. The smallest injustice echoes into the stars. The greatest righteousness brings harmony to all of creation. Enoch's vision as cosmic theology. Enoch's revelations are not mere myth or esoteric curiosity, they offer a cosmic theology. He takes the idea of divine judgment out of the courtroom and into the cosmos. His visions break the boundary between heaven and earth, between the physical and the spiritual, between time and eternity. Enoch, the man who walked with God, returns with messages that shake the foundations of both heaven and earth. In his visions, the end times are not only about wars or plagues, but about a final reckoning that reaches into the stars, the winds, the angels, and the waters. It is a drama of ultimate justice, revealing a universe held together not just by atoms or energy, but by divine righteousness. In a world that often feels chaotic and amoral, Enoch's apocalyptic message reminds us of a deeper truth. The universe is watched, recorded, and judged, and its final destiny is not destruction, but restoration through justice. The Great Flood, a precursor to final judgment. The story of the Great Flood is among the most profound narratives in ancient religious literature. Found in the Book of Genesis, echoed in the Book of Enoch, and mirrored across global mythologies, from Mesopotamian epics to Hindu texts, it speaks of a cataclysmic deluge sent by God to cleanse the earth of rampant wickedness. But beyond its historical or mythological significance, many scholars and theologians interpret the flood as a prototype or foreshadowing of a greater, more final event, the Last Judgment. This essay explores the Great Flood not just as a divine punishment of the past but as a symbolic precursor to the eschatological judgment still to come. Drawing on biblical texts, apocryphal literature, and theological insights, we will examine how the flood functions as a cosmic warning, revealing patterns of divine justice, mercy, and ultimate restoration. The context and cause of the flood. In Genesis 6 verse 5, the Bible declares, The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. Humanity had become so corrupt that even creation itself seemed polluted by sin. In the Book of Enoch, this moral decay is intensified with the introduction of the Watchers, fallen angels who descend to earth, take human wives and teach forbidden knowledge to mankind. Their offspring, the Nephilim giants, contribute to a world filled with violence and perversion. God's decision to bring the flood is framed not as random wrath but as an act of cosmic reordering. The flood was divine justice against a creation gone awry. It was both a punishment and a reset, a washing away of the impure to start anew. However, the story doesn't end with destruction. Noah, described as a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, becomes the vehicle of divine mercy. Through him, a remnant is preserved. The ark becomes a symbol of salvation amid judgment. 2. Echoes of the flood in later scriptures. The flood narrative reverberates through the rest of the Bible. It's not merely a self-contained story but a thematic prototype. Consider the following parallels. 1. Jesus in the days of Noah. In the Gospels, Jesus draws a direct comparison between the days of Noah and the conditions leading up to the final judgment. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Matthew 24 verse 37. Here, Jesus makes the point that just as people were eating, drinking, and marrying up until the day Noah entered the ark, so too will people be living normal lives until divine judgment suddenly falls upon them. The flood becomes a prophetic mirror for eschatological judgment, unexpected, swift, and inevitable. 2. Peter's epistles. In 2 Peter 2 verse 5 and 3:6-7, the apostle emphasizes the flood as a precedent. By these waters also the world of that time was deluged and destroyed. By the same word the present heavens and earth are reserved for fire, being kept for the day of judgment and destruction of the ungodly. Peter identifies a pattern: past water judgment, flood, and future fire judgment, final judgment. The former is a warning of the latter. In both cases, divine patience precedes judgment, allowing room for repentance. 3. Theological themes connecting flood and final judgment. Several theological motifs connect the flood with the eschatological judgment, deepening its typological meaning. 1. Divine justice and holiness. God's holiness cannot tolerate unchecked evil. The flood demonstrates that divine justice is not arbitrary, it's a response to sin that has reached its fullest measure. Similarly, the final judgment is portrayed in Revelation as the culmination of a long period of divine patience, after which sin is judged eternally. 2. Remnant and redemption. Just as Noah and his family are saved through the ark, so the righteous will be spared during the final judgment. The ark is a powerful symbol of Christ, a vessel of salvation, providing refuge from divine wrath. This theme of remnant theology appears throughout Scripture, highlighting God's commitment to preserve the faithful even amid catastrophe. 3. Cosmic renewal. After the flood, the world is not left in ruins. A covenant is made, the earth is repopulated, and a rainbow signifies a new beginning. This pattern is echoed in Revelation 21, where after judgment, a new heaven and new earth are established. The idea is clear: judgment is not the end but a prelude to restoration. 4. The Book of Enoch's expansion on the flood. The Book of Enoch, particularly 1 Enoch chapters 6-16, offers a deeper spiritual backdrop to the flood. Here, the flood is not only a punishment for human sin but a necessary act to undo the corrupting influence of the fallen angels. Enoch is given visions of heavenly courts where judgment is passed on these angels and their giant offspring. In this narrative, God is seen as both judge and cosmic restorer. The earth cries out under the weight of the Nephilim's violence, and the waters of the deep, the abyss, are used to cleanse and imprison. Enoch's visions point toward an ultimate judgment when all wicked powers, including rebellious angels, are cast into an eternal lake of fire. This layered cosmology links the flood directly with apocalyptic themes: divine counsels, spiritual warfare, and final accountability for both humans and celestial beings. Apocalyptic literature and judgment imagery. Jewish and Christian apocalyptic writings frequently return to flood-like imagery when describing the final judgment. Daniel 9 verse 26 refers to destruction that will come like a flood. Revelation 12 verses 15 to 16 depicts the serpent sending a flood to destroy the woman, only for the earth to swallow it, again suggesting judgment mixed with deliverance. Isaiah 54 verses 9 to 10 recalls the Noahic covenant as a guarantee that God's mercy will triumph over wrath, even in future judgments. This flood motif becomes an archetype for divine intervention, terrifying, cleansing, yet ultimately redemptive. 6. Moral and eschatological warnings. Understanding the flood as a precursor to final judgment isn't just academic. It carries moral urgency. The days of Noah were marked by complacency, indulgence, and spiritual blindness. People ignored warnings until it was too late. Jesus' teachings echo this. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. Matthew 24 verse 42. The lesson is timeless. The patience of God is not infinite. Judgment delayed is not judgment cancelled. Just as Noah's generation was caught unaware, so too can modern humanity lull itself into a false sense of security. The flood story then becomes an alarm bell, a sacred echo reminding us of the importance of repentance, vigilance, and faith. 7. The Ark, symbol of salvation through Christ. Perhaps the most enduring image from the flood narrative is the Ark itself. Crafted under divine instructions, it is the only safe place during the deluge. In Christian theology, the Ark is a clear symbol of Jesus Christ, God's appointed refuge from judgment. 1 Peter 3 verses 20 to 21 draws a direct parallel between the Ark and baptism, saying, "In it only a few people, 8 in all, were saved through water, and this water symbolizes baptism that now saves you also." Here, water serves both as an agent of judgment and salvation. Baptism symbolizes death to the old life and rebirth into a new one, just as the flood washed away the old world to usher in a new era. 8. Final judgment, fire not water. Where the flood used water, the final judgment will use fire. The shift in element reflects a progression in divine dealings. Water cleanses, but fire purifies and finalizes. Fire destroys but also refines. It leaves no ambiguity, only the eternal separation of good from evil. Revelation 20 verses 11 to 15 describes a great white throne, books being opened, and souls judged according to their deeds. The imagery is stark. Those not found in the book of life are cast into the lake of fire, a place of final separation from God. This fiery judgment is not without hope. Revelation ends with the image of a new Jerusalem, where God dwells with his people and every tear is wiped away. Like the post-flood world, the end is not desolation but restoration. From flood to final fire. The Great Flood is not just a story of the past. It is a mirror held up to the present and a warning about the future. It encapsulates the dual nature of divine judgment, terrifying yet redemptive, severe yet merciful. It teaches that sin has consequences, but obedience leads to salvation. Just as Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord, so too can we find refuge in Christ, the Ark of our age. The flood reminds us that history moves toward a climax, a final reckoning and a new beginning. We are living in the days of Noah, once again, days filled with violence, pride, and spiritual apathy. But just as God provided an ark, he has also provided a savior. The choice then is ours. Heed the warning and step into the ark, or ignore it and be swept away by the flood, or fire, to come. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the end times and Enoch prophecies and cosmic judgment. The ancient visions of Enoch continue to challenge, inspire, and warn us about the hidden forces shaping our destiny. If you found these revelations thought-provoking, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into lost scriptures and ancient mysteries. Drop your thoughts or questions in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. Until next time, stay curious, stay watchful, and remember, the end is only the beginning in the grand design of the cosmos. What secrets lie hidden in the ancient Book of Enoch? In this video we explore the mysterious story of the Watchers, fallen angels who defied divine order and descended to earth. Who were they? Why did they rebel? And what impact did their actions have on humanity? From forbidden knowledge to the birth of giants, the Book of Enoch reveals a gripping tale of heavenly betrayal and judgment. Join us as we uncover the truth behind these enigmatic beings and their role in shaping ancient history and spiritual belief. Don't miss this deep dive into one of the Bible's most mysterious texts: the Watchers, lust, rebellion, and the violation of divine order. The story of the Watchers, as preserved primarily in the Book of Enoch, is one of the most captivating and controversial narratives found in ancient Jewish apocalyptic literature. These angelic beings, originally sent by God to watch over and guide humanity, ultimately deviated from their divine mission. The Watchers are most infamously known for lusting after human women, descending to earth and taking them as wives. This act, seen as a direct violation of the heavenly order, triggered a chain of events that led to widespread corruption, the birth of the Nephilim, giants, and eventually the Great Flood. This essay will explore the Watchers' rebellion, their forbidden union with human women, the theological implications of their actions, and how their story reflects deep concerns within ancient Jewish thought about boundaries, holiness, and the consequences of transgressing divine law. The identity and role of the Watchers. The term Watchers is derived from the Aramaic word arin, meaning those who watch, or those who are awake. These beings are introduced in the Book of Enoch, 1 Enoch, particularly in the Book of the Watchers, chapters 1 to 36. According to this account, the Watchers were a group of 200 angels sent to earth to guide and watch over humanity. Their mission was supervisory, not participatory. They were to act as divine agents, ensuring that human beings followed the ways of righteousness. However, their interaction with humanity led to unforeseen temptations. Rather than remaining detached and faithful to their divine role, the Watchers grew fascinated, and then obsessed, with the beauty of mortal women. Lust and the fall, a forbidden desire. The pivotal moment in the narrative occurs in 1 Enoch 6, where we read, "And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men and beget us children." This passage directly links the fall of the Watchers to lust, a physical, emotional, and spiritual attraction that overpowered their divine obedience. The key transgression was not merely sexual desire, but the act of taking human women as wives, thereby blurring the line between the heavenly and the earthly realms. Their leader, Semjaza, initially hesitated, fearing the gravity of such a sin. However, the other angels swore an oath and bound themselves together under mutual responsibility, forming a pact to carry out their plan. This rebellion was not impulsive, it was deliberate and coordinated, marking a calculated mutiny against God's order. The union and its consequences. Once the Watchers descended to earth and took wives among humans, they fathered giant offspring, known as the Nephilim, from Hebrew naphal, meaning to fall. These beings are described as giants of great strength and violent tendencies. 1 Enoch 7:2-5 says, "And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind." This gruesome imagery conveys a world thrown into chaos. The unnatural union between the divine and the mortal results in monstrous beings who not only disrupt society but also corrupt the earth itself. The giants are portrayed as cannibals, destroyers, and a threat to creation. But the consequences didn't stop at physical destruction. The Watchers also taught humanity forbidden knowledge, skills and technologies that were not meant to be revealed at that stage of history. These included astrology, weapon-making, enchantments, sorcery, cosmetics, and herbal lore. This is significant because it connects moral corruption with technological advancement. The idea is not that knowledge is evil in itself, but that it becomes dangerous when acquired through illicit means or for immoral purposes. The violation of divine order. In ancient Jewish cosmology, the universe is highly structured. Heaven and earth are distinct domains, and the boundary between them is sacred. Angels are spiritual beings who inhabit the heavenly realms. Their contact with the material world is limited, purposeful, and always under divine command. The Watchers' descent and their sexual union with human women is therefore not just about lust or disobedience, it is a cosmic violation. It breaks down the ordered distinctions between creator and creation, spirit and flesh, holy and profane. Moreover, the Watchers assumed roles that belong solely to God. By fathering children and teaching hidden knowledge, they became rival authorities, offering humanity a counterfeit enlightenment. This mirrors other ancient myths such as the Prometheus legend, where divine knowledge is stolen and given to humans prematurely, resulting in punishment. Divine judgment. God's response to this rebellion is swift and severe. In 1 Enoch 10, the archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel, are commanded to act. The punishment of the Watchers and their offspring is detailed. The Nephilim are to be destroyed, and their spirits become wandering demons on earth. The Watchers are bound and cast into the abyss, a prison beneath the earth called the Valley of the Angels, where they await final judgment. God declares that the earth will be cleansed through a great flood, a direct foreshadowing of the Genesis deluge. One of the most chilling lines is found in 1 Enoch 15:8. You, angels, were spiritual, holy, living an eternal life, but you became polluted with women, and with the blood of flesh begotten by lust. This judgment emphasizes the distortion of their nature. The angels were created eternal and spiritual, but through lust and rebellion, they degraded themselves into corrupted, flesh-entangled beings. Their sin was not just rebellion, it was self-degradation, a fall from glory into shame. Parallels in other texts. While the Book of Enoch provides the most detailed account, similar stories appear elsewhere. 1. Genesis 6 verses 1-4. This brief but provocative passage forms the basis of the Enochian story. The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days. While the traditional Jewish and Christian interpretations downplay this passage, interpreting sons of God as the line of Seth, the Book of Enoch expands it into a dramatic myth of angelic rebellion and corruption. 2. Jubilees and other apocryphal texts. The Book of Jubilees and other apocryphal writings also mention the Watchers and their judgment. These texts support the idea that the flood was sent not just to punish human sin but to purge the earth of angelic corruption. 3. New Testament allusions. The New Testament briefly references this episode. 2 Peter 2 verse 4, God did not spare angels when they sinned, but sent them to hell, putting them in chains of darkness to be held for judgment. Jude 1 verses 6-7. The angels who did not keep their proper domain, he has kept in eternal chains under darkness for the judgment of the great day. These allusions confirm that early Christians were aware of and influenced by the Watchers' tradition. Theological implications. The story of the Watchers reflects profound theological concerns. 1. Boundary transgression. The core sin is not merely lust but crossing boundaries. The Watchers were spiritual beings who violated their domain by descending into earthly affairs. Ancient Jewish theology held boundary maintenance between the sacred and profane, the divine and mortal, as essential to cosmic harmony. 2. Free will and rebellion. The Watchers chose their fate. They were not tricked, coerced, or ignorant. Their actions reflect free will, which makes their rebellion all the more damning. Like Satan in later Christian tradition, the Watchers embody the danger of pride and desire unchecked by obedience. 3. Corruption of creation. The Nephilim are not merely unnatural. They are aberrations, results of spiritual beings manipulating the processes of human life. Their violence and appetite devour the earth, suggesting that sin has ecological as well as moral consequences. Relevance to today. While the story may seem fantastical, it touches on timeless themes. The abuse of power, the dangers of forbidden knowledge, the consequences of unrestrained desire, the blurring of moral and spiritual boundaries. In a world increasingly driven by technological advancement, ethical ambiguity, and spiritual confusion, the tale of the Watchers warns us of what happens when divine limits are ignored in pursuit of pleasure or power. The The story of the Watchers who lusted after human women and took them as wives is more than an ancient myth. It is a profound reflection on order, temptation, and divine justice. Their fall serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of overstepping divine boundaries and the chaos that ensues when heavenly beings forget their purpose. By taking wives and fathering the Nephilim, the Watchers did not merely rebel. They corrupted creation, introduced forbidden knowledge, and ignited a series of events that ultimately led to the flood. Their punishment was eternal, a stark reminder that even beings of immense power are not above divine law. The Watchers' legacy endures, not only in ancient texts but in the enduring human struggle between obedience and desire, knowledge and wisdom, power and humility. In understanding their story, we gain insight into the values and fears of the ancient world, and perhaps, a mirror to our own. The Watchers' leaders, Semjaza and Azazel in the Book of Enoch. The Watchers, or Grigori in some translations, appear in 1 Enoch chapters 6-16, where they are described as angels who descended to earth during the days of Jared, a pre-flood patriarch. Their original purpose was to observe human activities, but they ultimately violated divine boundaries. Driven by desire, they took human wives, defiled themselves, and taught forbidden knowledge. Actions that led to catastrophic consequences for both angels and humanity. The two most important names in this narrative are Semjaza, the ringleader of the rebellion, and Azazel, who emerges as the teacher of destructive secrets. Together they symbolize the twin evils of rebellion and corruption. Semjaza, the fallen leader of the Watchers. 1. Name and meaning. The name Semjaza is often translated as "he sees the name" or "my name has seen," from Hebrew origins, Shem meaning name, and Haza meaning to see. This etymology is significant. It hints at spiritual perception and identity, and yet he becomes the archetype of perverted leadership. 2. The leadership role. In 1 Enoch 6, Semjaza is introduced as the chief of the 200 angels who conspired to descend upon Mount Hermon and take human wives. And Semjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. 1 Enoch 6:3. Here, Semjaza is portrayed as a leader who senses the severity of the rebellion but is willing to go through with it if others will support him. This passage reveals both his charisma and his moral failing. He persuades the others to take a collective oath, effectively sealing their rebellion as a unified act. Semjaza does not simply act on impulse. He orchestrates the entire descent. His role as the leader implies premeditation, a deliberate and calculated departure from divine will. 3. Semjaza's transgressions. Once on earth, Semjaza and the Watchers took human wives and produced offspring called the Nephilim, described as giants who devoured all that men possessed, taught forbidden knowledge to humanity. Semjaza specifically is said to have taught enchantments, root cuttings, a form of herbal magic, and occult practices. 1 Enoch 8:3. His teachings represent spiritual corruption, taking divine secrets and weaponizing them for human misuse. Unlike Azazel, who focused on external tools of vanity and warfare, Semjaza's teachings disrupted the natural and moral fabric of human life. 4. Judgment and fate. Semjaza's fate is ultimately sealed by divine intervention. In 1 Enoch 10, the archangel Uriel is commanded by God to go to Noah and foretell the coming flood. Meanwhile, the archangel Raphael is instructed to bind Azazel, and the archangel Michael is sent to imprison Semjaza and his fellow leaders. Bind Semjaza and his associates who have united themselves with women so as to have defiled themselves. Bind them fast for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth. 1 Enoch 10:11-12. Semjaza's punishment is imprisonment in the underworld, a fate that reinforces the seriousness of angelic rebellion. The 70 generations reference implies a lengthy period of judgment leading up to a final reckoning, possibly linked to eschatological, end-time, restoration. Semjaza's story becomes a warning of what happens when spiritual beings reject divine order, seduce humanity, and misuse sacred knowledge. Azazel, the scapegoat of sin. 1. Name and meaning. Azazel is another major figure among the Watchers, but he carries a different legacy than Semjaza. His name may derive from Hebrew roots meaning God strengthens, Azaz plus El, but in context it becomes ironic. Alternatively, some scholars suggest it means scapegoat, derived from Leviticus 16, where a goat was symbolically cast into the wilderness for Azazel. Azazel is unique because, while Semjaza leads the rebellion, Azazel becomes the personification of sin and corruption. 2. The corruption of humanity. Azazel's role is outlined in 1 Enoch 8:1-2. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones and all coloring tinctures. Azazel's teachings introduced weapons of war, swords, knives, shields, cosmetic enhancements, beautifying of eyelids, use of antimony, materialism and vanity, use of precious stones and dyes. His influence is not merely technological, it is moral and spiritual. By teaching humans how to wage war and manipulate beauty, he helped instill violence, pride, lust, and deceit. Unlike Semjaza, whose teachings were more esoteric, Azazel's impact was visible and immediate. In this way, Azazel becomes a proto-satanic figure, one who tempts and leads astray not through power alone, but through seduction and deception. 3. Judgment of Azazel. Azazel receives special attention in the divine judgment. In 1 Enoch 10:4-7, God commands the archangel Raphael, "Bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him into the darkness, and cover him with rough and jagged rocks and leave him there forever. And the whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin." 2 things stand out. Azazel is blamed for all sin. While other watchers shared in the rebellion, Azazel bears the symbolic weight of corruption. His punishment is eternal. Unlike others who are imprisoned for 70 generations, Azazel is to be buried and held until the day of judgment, indicating his role as more cosmic and archetypal. This scapegoat symbolism may tie into Leviticus 16, where one goat was sacrificed for sin and another, the Azazel goat, was sent into the wilderness to carry the sins of the people. Azazel then becomes a literal and symbolic dumping ground for sin and transgression. Comparative analysis, Semjaza versus Azazel. While both Semjaza and Azazel are central to the Watcher's narrative, their roles differ in tone and emphasis. Aspect: Semjaza Azazel. Role: leader of the rebellion, corrupter of humanity. Primary sin: rebellion, taking human wives, teaching occult knowledge, teaching war, vanity, and deception. Symbolism: apostate leader, fallen guide, scapegoat, tempter, archetype of evil. Punishment: imprisoned for 70 generations, buried and blamed for all sin. Focus of teachings: enchantments, root magic, spiritual corruption, weapons, cosmetics, material vanity. Semjaza reflects the tragedy of a leader who knew better but still sinned. Azazel, by contrast, seems to embody the evil that's men. Enochian tradition fills in the gaps, casting Semjaza and Azazel as the leading offenders. 2. Jewish and Christian traditions. In Jewish mysticism, Azazel becomes a demonic figure, often linked to Satan or demonic rebellion. Semjaza, though less mentioned, remains part of apocryphal and mystical traditions like Kabbalah and the Zohar. In Christian demonology, Azazel is sometimes associated with Lucifer or Satan, and Semjaza is viewed as a prince of fallen angels. The Enochian account heavily influenced the Epistle of Jude v6, and 2 Peter 2 verse 4, which speak of angels who sinned and were cast into chains. 3. Cultural representations. In modern culture, both names appear in literature, film, and esoterica. Azazel appears in movies, comics, and even as a demon in fictional horror narratives. Semjaza is sometimes cited in occult texts and angelology as a fallen but once great celestial being. These representations often borrow from Enochic themes: power, rebellion, corruption, and judgment. Theological and moral themes. The tale of Semjaza and Azazel offers deep theological insights. Free will versus divine order. The Watchers had choice. Their fall emphasizes the gravity of free will, especially when misused. knowledge and responsibility. Their teachings were not evil by nature, but their timing and purpose violated divine boundaries. This theme resonates with the story of Eden and the Tree of Knowledge. Sin's contagion. One rebellion led to widespread human and angelic corruption, highlighting how evil can cascade. Ultimately, the Watcher's story is not just about ancient angels. It is a mirror held up to power, temptation, and the misuse of sacred trust. Semjaza and Azazel stand as towering figures in the mythology of the Book of Enoch. Semjaza, the reluctant but decisive leader, initiated a cosmic rebellion. Azazel, the master of corruption, brought war, vanity, and pride into the human experience. Their actions led to the birth of the Nephilim, the corruption of the earth, and a divine judgment through the flood. Their stories speak to ancient questions still relevant today. What happens when divine knowledge is misused? Where does evil begin? And can creation be restored after such devastation? Through these characters, the Book of Enoch explores the tension between heaven and earth, holiness and sin, order and chaos. Though written thousands of years ago, the legacy of Semjaza and Azazel continues to challenge, warn, and fascinate. Dive into the mysterious world of the Watchers as revealed in the ancient Book of Enoch. Who were these fallen angels and why did they descend to earth? This video explores their rebellion, forbidden knowledge, and the consequences that followed, especially the creation of the Nephilim. Discover how their actions shaped biblical history and influenced apocryphal texts. Whether you're a fan of ancient mysteries, biblical studies, or spiritual exploration, this episode will leave you questioning what lies beyond the traditional scriptures. Like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating insights into hidden books and forgotten stories from the ancient world.
Welcome to Mythology Lore, where ancient secrets meet modern curiosity. In today's video, we dive into a provocative question: why did the Vatican fear angels more than the devil? While demons are often cast as villains, angels, those radiant, winged beings, hold a far more complex and terrifying role in religious texts. From divine wrath to apocalyptic judgment, these celestial warriors weren't always messengers of peace. Could the Church have seen them as forces too powerful to control? Stick around as we unravel the myths, theology, and hidden fears that shape this divine paradox. Let's explore the shadow side of the sacred. The Watchers and the corruption of humanity, and exploration of the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish apocalyptic text attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, offers a compelling narrative that expands upon a brief passage in Genesis 6. It introduces a group of celestial beings called the Watchers, who descend from heaven to earth and bring about a dramatic shift in the course of human and cosmic history. These Watchers, originally holy angels, betray their divine mandate and unleash chaos by revealing forbidden knowledge and fathering a race of hybrid giants known as the Nephilim. Though not demonic in origin, the Watchers are portrayed as spiritual rebels, once divine, now fallen. Their story is one of power, temptation, and cosmic consequence, and it offers deep theological and symbolic implications that have influenced later Jewish and Christian eschatology. Origins and identity of the Watchers. The Watchers are first introduced in the Book of Enoch, particularly in the Book of the Watchers, 1 Enoch 1-36, a section dating to around the 3rd century BCE. The term Watcher translates from the Aramaic irim, meaning those who watch or those who are awake. These beings were tasked with observing humanity and serving as guardians over the earth. In their original capacity, the Watchers were divine agents, holy angels with a noble mission. But their role as sentinels and intermediaries between heaven and earth changes when a faction of these angels begins to lust after human women. In 1 Enoch 6, a group of 200 Watchers, led by a powerful angel named Semjaza, or Semjaza, descend to earth at Mount Hermon. There, they make a pact, swearing together to carry out their plan to take human wives and father children. This deliberate descent is not a mere fall, it is an act of collective rebellion, a breach of heavenly boundaries motivated by desire and curiosity. Forbidden unions and the birth of the Nephilim. The union between the Watchers and human women leads to the birth of the Nephilim, described as giants of great power and violence. The name Nephilim likely comes from the Hebrew root NPL, meaning to fall or fallen ones. These offspring are hybrid beings, part divine, part human, and are said to grow to great size, consuming all of humanity's resources and turning to cannibalism and bloodshed when the earth can no longer sustain them. In this narrative, the Nephilim symbolize the unnatural results of divine-human fusion, representing a distortion of creation. They are not only physically threatening but morally corrupt, bringing destruction and accelerating humanity's descent into depravity. The earth, once a balanced creation, becomes a corrupted and violent place. This myth serves as an etiological account, explaining the presence of evil, corruption, and suffering in the world before the flood. The Nephilim, like the Watchers who fathered them, are not merely characters in a supernatural story but metaphors for excess, chaos, and transgression. They reflect what happens when boundaries, between heaven and earth, divine and human, knowledge and ignorance, are broken. The teaching of forbidden knowledge. One of the most significant aspects of the Watchers' transgression is not merely their physical union with humans, but the knowledge they impart. This forbidden wisdom includes skills and technologies that accelerate the corruption of mankind. According to 1 Enoch 8, each of the Watchers taught specific domains of knowledge. Azazel taught humanity to make swords, knives, shields, and armor, introducing the art of warfare. Semyaza taught enchantments and root cuttings, early forms of sorcery and magic. Barakegel taught astrology and the movement of the stars. Kokabel shared the knowledge of constellations. Ezekiel taught the signs of the clouds, meteorology. Arakiel revealed the signs of the earth, geography or perhaps geology. Shamziel instructed humans in the signs of the sun. Sariel explained the phases of the moon. This transfer of knowledge is strikingly similar to the myth of Prometheus in Greek mythology, where a divine being defies the gods to bring fire, and thus civilization, to humanity. But unlike Prometheus, whose gift to humanity is often interpreted as positive or at least ambiguous, the Watchers' gift is almost entirely negative in Enoch. The knowledge they offer leads to warfare, vanity, through the teaching of cosmetics and jewelry, and occult practices. The text suggests that certain types of knowledge are inherently dangerous, not because they are false, but because they are misused. The divine order was meant to protect humanity from knowledge it could not handle. In revealing secrets prematurely, the Watchers not only violate heavenly law but also accelerate humanity's moral decay. Not demons, but fallen angels. A crucial theological detail in Enoch's narrative is that the Watchers are not demons in origin. They are not part of a devilish race bent on destruction from the beginning. Rather, they are angels, beings created by God with good intentions, who stray from their assigned purpose. This makes their fall all the more tragic and complex. They were not evil by nature but chose rebellion. In a sense, their fall mirrors that of Lucifer in later Christian theology, though the Book of Enoch develops this idea independently. This distinction also clarifies their role. They are not chaotic agents like demons in the New Testament who seek to torment or possess. The Watchers corrupt through temptation, curiosity, and disobedience. They embody the dangers of unchecked ambition and desire, especially when divine boundaries are ignored. In this way, they are more like tragic figures than purely malicious ones. Judgment and cosmic consequence. The Watchers' rebellion does not go unnoticed. The archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel, are sent by God to respond. Their actions are swift and severe. Raphael binds Azazel and casts him into a desert, covering him with jagged rocks. Gabriel is commanded to destroy the Nephilim. Michael is sent to imprison Semyaza and the rest of the Watchers in the depths of the earth, in dark and fiery pits, where they will await the final judgment. The punishment of the Watchers is deeply tied to apocalyptic themes. Their imprisonment in the abyss foreshadows later Christian ideas of hell and the binding of Satan. The flood of Noah, presented in Enoch as a response to the chaos caused by the Watchers and the Nephilim, is not merely an act of divine wrath but a cosmic cleansing, a restoration of divine order. Enoch himself plays a key role as the righteous scribe who intercedes with God on behalf of the fallen Watchers. but his intercession fails. God refuses to forgive them, citing the gravity of their sin and the irreversible corruption they caused. This refusal underscores a stark theological principle: some transgressions are so severe that even divine mercy has its limits. Symbolism and influence. The Watcher's narrative is rich with symbolic meaning. At one level, it is a myth about cosmic order and chaos. At another, it reflects real historical concerns. The forbidden knowledge, weaponry, sorcery, astrology, mirrors anxieties about the rapid development of human civilization and the potential for self-destruction. The Nephilim may symbolize oppressive warrior kings or tyrants from ancient memory, whose size and power made them seem like demigods. The story also addresses theodicy, the question of why evil exists if God is good. In Enoch, evil is not God's creation but results from the misuse of free will by divine beings. It is a cosmic accident with disastrous consequences, not a flaw in divine design. The Book of Enoch was highly influential in the Second Temple period, shaping Jewish apocalyptic literature and later Christian writings. The concept of fallen angels and their punishment can be found in the New Testament, particularly in 2 Peter 2 verse 4 and Jude 1 verse 6, which directly allude to angels who sinned and were cast into gloomy dungeons. Even the early church fathers, such as Tertullian and Irenaeus, drew upon Enochian traditions, though the book was eventually excluded from the canonical Bible in most Christian traditions, except the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which still considers it scripture. Contemporary reflections. In modern times, the story of the Watchers has been reinterpreted in numerous ways, through literature, film, occultism, and even pseudoscientific theories about ancient aliens. These reinterpretations often emphasize the idea of divine knowledge being withheld from or given to humanity, playing into themes of conspiracy and hidden wisdom. But beyond these modern takes, the Book of Enoch offers enduring insights into the nature of power, responsibility, and moral order. The Watcher's fall is not a tale of foreign demons invading a pure world, but of familiar, once trusted beings succumbing to temptation. Their sin lies not in their nature, but in their choices, reminding us that even the highest can fall when boundaries are ignored. The story of the Watchers in the Book of Enoch is a profound and unsettling myth, rich with theological and symbolic depth. These angels were not demons, but holy beings who fell from grace, not through a moment of weakness, but through a collective decision to abandon their divine calling. Their descent led to the birth of the Nephilim, the teaching of forbidden knowledge, and the corruption of the earth. Through this narrative, Enoch presents a cautionary tale about the misuse of knowledge, the fragility of divine order, and the limits of mercy. It is a cosmic drama that explains the presence of evil in the world not as a flaw in creation, but as a tragic rebellion, one that echoes through apocalyptic literature and continues to resonate today. Lucifer, the morning star, pride, ambition, and the fall of the brightest angel. Before he became the devil, Lucifer was the morning star, a seraph of unparalleled beauty, brilliance, and authority in the celestial hierarchy. His name, derived from the Latin lux, light, and fere, to bear, literally means light-bearer. This title, often associated with the planet Venus shining in the dawn sky, symbolized his position as the most radiant of angels. In Christian theology and literature, Lucifer's fall from heaven has traditionally been cast as a cautionary tale about rebellion against divine authority. Yet, if we look deeper into this myth, a more nuanced picture emerges, one in which Lucifer's descent was not born of inherent evil, but of pride, ambition, and ultimately, free will. His fall becomes a story not of monstrosity but of tragic beauty, framing the devil as a being who was punished not for malice, but for seeking divinity on his own terms. The nature of Lucifer before the fall. In Christian tradition, especially as drawn from interpretations of Isaiah 14 verse 12, "How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning." Lucifer is imagined as the highest of all angels. While this passage originally referred to the fall of the Babylonian king, it was later reinterpreted by Christian thinkers to refer to the devil. Theologians such as Saint Jerome and later church fathers cemented the identification of Lucifer as a fallen angel. He was believed to be a seraph, the highest order of angels, closest to God in the celestial hierarchy. Lucifer's beauty, wisdom, and power were unrivaled. Ezekiel 28 verses 12 to 17, often interpreted as an allegorical description of Lucifer, portrays him as a being full of wisdom and perfect in beauty, created blameless, walking in the Garden of Eden adorned with precious stones. Such imagery reflects the awe-inspiring nature of Lucifer before his fall. He was not only magnificent in form but also functioned as a divine governor, possibly tasked with overseeing other angels or elements of creation. What makes Lucifer unique in this context is that his fall is not attributed to temptation by an external evil, no serpent, no Satan whispering lies into his ear. His downfall begins internally, in the corridors of his own heart and mind. It begins with pride. Pride and the seed of rebellion. Pride, in Christian theology, is the original and most serious of the 7 deadly sins because it gives rise to all others. In Lucifer, pride was not simple arrogance, it was a desire to ascend beyond his station, to rival or even surpass God. In Isaiah 14 verses 13 to 14, again traditionally attributed to Lucifer, the voice says, "I will ascend to heaven, I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will make myself like the Most High." This was not a desire to destroy or corrupt but to ascend, to elevate himself to the plane of divinity. Herein lies the tragedy. Lucifer did not fall because he hated God, he fell because he loved himself too much. His desire was to be more than an angel, to be equal with God, to claim a divine agency that had not been given to him. This ambition is not unlike the human impulse for self-realization, for reaching one's fullest potential. In this way, Lucifer becomes a mirror of mankind, created with intelligence and beauty, yet given free will, which can lead either to harmony with God or to catastrophic self-aggrandizement. The role of free will. Lucifer's fall underscores the importance of free will in the divine order. Angels, like humans, were created with the ability to choose. Without the potential to defy God, their worship would be hollow, automatic, a kind of celestial programming. Lucifer's choice, then, validates the reality of free will in creation. He chose pride, he chose ambition. In doing so, he also chose separation from God. But what if that choice was not purely malicious? What if Lucifer's ambition was, in some sense, noble or tragic rather than evil? After all, seeking knowledge, wisdom, or even greatness is not inherently sinful. It becomes so when it violates the divine harmony, when it puts the self above the collective good, or above the Creator. This interpretation opens the door to seeing Lucifer not simply as the villain of creation but as a complex character who embodies the danger and beauty of autonomy. In exercising his will, he sought to redefine his existence, to become more than what he was created to be. He rebelled not because he hated the light, but because he wanted to be its source. Theological implications: a devil of tragedy, not just evil. Framing the devil in this light offers profound theological implications. Traditionally, Satan is the enemy of God, the tempter of men, the father of lies. He is seen as the embodiment of evil, diametrically opposed to all that is holy. But the story of Lucifer complicates this. Before he was Satan, he was an angel who fell not from malice but from misdirected greatness. This view is not meant to exonerate him but to contextualize his fall. In Paradise Lost, John Milton famously explores this perspective, portraying Lucifer as a tragic hero whose famous line, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven," captures both the grandeur and the folly of his ambition. Milton's Satan is charismatic, persuasive, even sympathetic. He refuses subjugation, even if that means suffering. He becomes the author of his own destiny, though it leads to ruin. The tragedy here lies not just in the fall but in what was lost, the potential for greatness redirected into rebellion. This echoes the human condition: our greatest strengths can become our greatest weaknesses when turned inward. Lucifer and the human psyche. Lucifer's story resonates deeply with the human psyche because it represents an archetype that appears in myths, literature, and psychology, the brilliant being undone by pride. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychoanalyst, saw Lucifer as a symbol of the shadow self, the repressed part of our personality that contains both evil and untapped potential. In Jungian terms, the devil represents the consequences of denying our inner darkness rather than integrating it. Lucifer's desire to define his own divinity can also be seen in the modern individualist ethos, where personal empowerment is prized. In this way, he becomes an emblem not of sin but of the perils of unchecked self-determination. What begins as empowerment can become alienation, just as Lucifer's quest for self-sovereignty led to isolation and damnation. The devil as a cautionary tale. Understanding the devil as a fallen angel rather than a creature of pure evil serves as a powerful cautionary tale. It warns not against ambition itself, but against ambition divorced from humility and wisdom. Pride becomes dangerous when it blinds us to our limitations and disconnects us from the larger order of which we are a part. Lucifer's fall illustrates that the line between greatness and ruin is razor-thin. The higher one stands, the farther one can fall. It teaches that power and beauty, when not tempered by virtue, can lead to destruction, not just of others, but of oneself. This reframing also humanizes the concept of evil. If the devil once was good, then evil is not a separate substance or entity but a corruption of the good. It is potential gone awry, beauty turned inward, freedom misused. This makes the battle between good and evil not a war between distant cosmic forces but a conflict within the soul of every individual. Redemption, a question left open. An intriguing question arises from this perspective: could Lucifer ever be redeemed? Traditional theology says no, his fall was final, his rebellion eternal. Yet if his fall was due to the misuse of free will, and if free will continues to operate, could repentance ever be possible? This idea remains speculative and controversial, yet it reflects a deeper longing in the human heart, the hope that no one is beyond redemption. Some mystical traditions suggest that all beings, even the most fallen, are ultimately drawn back to the divine source. In such visions, even the devil might one day kneel not in defeat, but in reconciliation. Whether or not one accepts this possibility, the very question reaffirms the moral complexity of Lucifer's story. He is not merely a monster, he is a symbol of the heights we might achieve and the depths to which we can fall. Reframing the devil. In viewing Lucifer not simply as the devil but as the morning star who fell from grace, we are invited to see his story not only as a tale of rebellion but of tragic potential. His fall was not the eruption of pure evil but the flowering of pride, ambition, and the assertion of free will against divine order. This interpretation does not seek to glorify the devil but to understand him, to see in his story a mirror of our own struggles with identity, autonomy, and limitation. It reminds us that even the most luminous beings can be undone by the shadows they cast. Lucifer's tale stands as a testament to the complexity of creation and the moral tensions at the heart of freedom. He is a figure who defied heaven not to destroy it, but to become it, a choice that cost him everything. In that choice lies the tragedy, the warning, and the enduring mystery of the morning star. Thanks for watching Mythology Lore. If today's dive into why the Vatican may have feared angels more than the devil made you rethink what you know about divine beings, hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. Are angels truly protectors, or something more fearsome? Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss our next journey into the hidden truths of mythology and religion. New videos every week exploring the stories behind the symbols. Until next time, stay curious, question everything, and remember, not all that shines is benevolent. See you in the next one.
What if ancient truths were hidden for thousands of years, buried deep within a mysterious book shrouded in secrecy? Welcome to Unlocking Enoch's Lost Myths, Truths Hidden for Millennia. In this video we'll journey through forbidden knowledge, celestial realms, and powerful beings that predate mainstream biblical texts. Discover the Watchers, the secrets of the heavens, and the mysteries of divine judgment that shaped ancient belief systems. Are these forgotten myths remnants of divine truth, or ancient warnings lost to time? Stay with us as we uncover revelations long veiled in mystery and explore the profound secrets of the Book of Enoch. Unlocking Enoch's Lost Myths, Truths Hidden for Millennia. The Book of Enoch, a mysterious ancient text long excluded from most biblical canons, offers a bold alternative lens into the origins of humanity, the cosmos, angelic hierarchies, and divine judgment. Buried in obscurity for centuries, this ancient Jewish work brims with mythological narratives and spiritual revelations that challenge mainstream religious traditions. These stories, passed down through oral traditions and hidden from the general population, have fascinated mystics, theologians, and scholars for generations. But why was this book lost? And what secrets do its myths truly hold? In this essay we'll unlock the lost myths of Enoch and uncover the hidden truths they've carried through millennia. Myths of celestial rebellion, cosmic order, divine punishment, and esoteric knowledge. 1. Who was Enoch? The mysterious antediluvian prophet. The central figure in this book is Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. Genesis 5 verse 24 famously states, "Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him." This cryptic line left later generations with questions. Where did Enoch go? What did he see? The Book of Enoch answers these questions with astonishing detail, portraying Enoch not just as a righteous man but as a heavenly traveler, scribe of divine judgment, and mediator between God and the fallen angels. According to the text, Enoch is taken to the heavens and shown the inner workings of the cosmos, the realms of angels, and the fate of souls. He becomes the mouthpiece for divine mysteries, writing them down in books to be preserved until the end times. 2. The Watchers and the Origin of Sin. Perhaps the most captivating myth in Enoch is the story of the Watchers, a group of 200 angels who descend to earth during the time of Jared. These angels, led by Simjaza and Azazel, defy the divine order and take human wives. Their union produces the Nephilim, giants who wreak havoc upon the earth. This myth is radical. Unlike Genesis, where sin is primarily introduced through human disobedience, Adam and Eve, Enoch places the blame on these rebellious angels. The Watchers not only corrupt humanity through forbidden unions, but they also teach forbidden knowledge: sorcery, astrology, metallurgy, weapon-making, cosmetics, and war. This merging of heaven and earth introduces chaos into creation. The giants devour human beings, spill blood, and bring suffering. God responds by commanding the archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel, to imprison the Watchers in the abyss until the day of final judgment. Interpretation. This narrative reframes the origin of evil. It's not just human frailty at play, but a cosmic betrayal of divine law. It also hints at an ancient belief in spiritual hierarchies influencing earthly events, a belief echoed in many religious and mythological traditions. 3. The Secrets of Heaven and Cosmic Geography. The Book of Enoch doesn't stop at myth. It explores an elaborate cosmology that rivals even the most intricate mythologies of Mesopotamia or Greece. Enoch describes his journeys through multiple heavens, each containing specific realms and beings. The first heaven contains clouds, wind, and atmospheric phenomena. The second heaven holds imprisoned rebel angels being tortured. The third heaven reveals the Garden of Eden alongside a place of terrible torment. The fourth heaven showcases the celestial bodies, the sun and moon, guided by angelic beings. The fifth to seventh heavens escalate in glory, with the presence of angels who intercede, guard secrets, and serve in God's throne room. This layered heaven is not merely poetic. It reflects a structured spiritual universe where each domain has roles, laws, and angelic guardians. Interpretation. The concept of seven heavens predates Islam and even shows up in certain rabbinic writings. Enoch's detailed description reflects a deeper belief in a stratified cosmos, a divine bureaucracy, so to speak, where divine order flows from God down through celestial administrators. 4. Calendars and the corruption of time. Another crucial revelation in the Book of Enoch is his teaching on calendars. In the Book of the Luminaries, Enoch reveals a solar calendar of 364 days, emphasizing divine order and regularity. He criticizes those who follow a lunar calendar, claiming that such timekeeping corrupts festivals and seasons ordained by God. Interpretation. This might seem like a technicality, but it carries significant theological weight. In ancient thought, timekeeping reflected divine law. Corrupting time was seen as corrupting creation itself. This calendrical dispute likely reflects real historical tensions between sects like the Essenes, who favored a solar calendar, and the Pharisees, who used the lunar one. This myth underscores how sacred even time was to ancient people, and how the manipulation of it could symbolize rebellion against divine harmony. 5. Judgment of angels and the end of days. Another critical theme in the Book of Enoch is divine justice, not just for humanity but for angels. After the Watchers fall, Enoch is sent as a prophet to declare their doom. He delivers their petitions before God, but God rejects them. In one of the most chilling scenes, the angels are told they will never return to heaven and will remain imprisoned until the final judgment. This leads to vivid descriptions of the end times. The earth will be shaken, stars will fall, and a new heaven and earth will emerge. The wicked will be destroyed, and the righteous will live eternally in light. This apocalyptic vision goes beyond the Old Testament in terms of scope and imagery, foreshadowing themes later found in the Book of Revelation. Interpretation. Enoch presents judgment as a cosmic reordering. Justice is not just about humans being rewarded or punished, it's about restoring divine order across realms. Even angels are accountable. 6. Hidden knowledge and the role of Enoch as scribe. A recurring element in the text is the idea that Enoch writes down everything he sees. His writings are hidden, sealed, and preserved for future generations. This theme of forbidden or hidden knowledge is central to many mythologies, and Enoch's version is no different. He becomes the archetypal keeper of divine secrets. The idea that sacred texts exist outside the canon, hidden away for only the righteous or enlightened to discover, has always stirred the imagination. It implies that what we see in mainstream scripture is only part of a much larger, concealed narrative. Interpretation. Enoch's myths suggest that divine truth is not always accessible. It must be revealed, preserved, and protected from corruption. This gives the Book of Enoch an aura of mystical exclusivity, attracting esoteric traditions, mystery religions, and modern occult groups. 7. Azazel and the scapegoat motif. Azazel is singled out among the Watchers for particularly harsh judgment. He is associated with warfare, pride, vanity, and occult knowledge. God commands Raphael to bind him and cast him into the wilderness, a theme mirrored in the Levitical scapegoat ritual, where a goat for Azazel is sent into the desert on the Day of Atonement, Leviticus 16 verses 8 to 10. This myth transforms Azazel into a mythic embodiment of rebellion and contamination, a cosmic scapegoat for angelic and human sin alike. Interpretation. Azazel's role reveals a deeper connection between ritual and mythology. The desert becomes a symbol of exile and chaos, the very opposite of divine presence. Through Azazel, the myth explains how impurity is ritually removed from society. 8. Suppression and rediscovery. Why was Enoch lost? Despite its popularity among early Jewish and Christian sects, even quoted in the New Testament, e.g. Jude 1 verses 14 to 15, the Book of Enoch eventually disappeared from the canon. Most scholars believe this occurred due to its emphasis on angelology and demonology, which conflicted with rabbinic Judaism, its apocalyptic and mystical nature, which was deemed too speculative, its association with heterodox groups like Gnostics and early Christian sects. For centuries, the book survived only in Ethiopian Christianity, where it was preserved in the Guizi language. It wasn't until the 18th and 19th centuries that Western scholars rediscovered it, and it quickly ignited scholarly and occult interest. Interpretation. The loss and rediscovery of Enoch's myths reflect broader religious dynamics. What knowledge is preserved, what is suppressed, and who gets to decide. It also shows how power and canonization shaped our religious texts. 9. Modern fascination. Why Enoch still captivates today. Today, the Book of Enoch has found new life in theological circles, conspiracy theories, and speculative fiction. From the Nephilim being cast as ancient aliens to the Watchers viewed as interdimensional beings, Enoch's myths have inspired countless reinterpretations. This modern fascination likely stems from a desire to uncover hidden truths lost to history, the mystery of non-canonical texts, the book's rich symbolism and cosmology, which appeals to both mystics and scientists, its apparent connection to the origins of evil, bridging spiritual and moral questions, the mythic power of Enoch unlocked, The Book of Enoch is not just an ancient curiosity, it is a living mythological system that offers alternative visions of divine justice, cosmic order, spiritual rebellion, and esoteric knowledge. Its myths speak to universal themes: the hunger for hidden truth, the nature of evil, and the longing for justice beyond this world. By unlocking its lost myths, we don't just recover old stories, we rediscover humanity's oldest spiritual questions dressed in celestial garb. Whether taken as literal history, inspired prophecy, or powerful allegory, the Book of Enoch invites readers into a world where heaven and earth collide, and where divine secrets wait for those with eyes to see. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the forgotten realms of Enoch's lost myths. These ancient truths, hidden for millennia, challenge our understanding of the spiritual world and humanity's place within it. If this exploration sparked your curiosity, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into ancient texts and hidden history. What do you think these myths reveal about our past and our future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and remember, sometimes the oldest stories hold the most powerful secrets. See you in the next video.